Oh, look, another fine day of Em and Christine's voice in your ears.
Ah! That's how I feel today.
We did our usual thing where we essentially did a sad happy hour before we got on here, and usually we're done recording by now, and now we're starting. So my brain's a little shot, which should make an interesting episode, I guess.
I gotta say, my Zoloft is not working today. You know what I mean?
No.
No. I was talking to Eva about this before you hopped on, and the Zoloft has helped so much with my tummy aches. Like, I used to get a tummy ache with even the slightest, like, slightest nerve. Girl. Delete that, Jack. He's not going to delete it, is he?
Don't delete it.
I used to get a tummy ache with even the slightest, like, anxiety, like, nerve, you know, like, my tummy would just be constantly flipping upside down. And the Zoloft has really stopped that from happening when it's unnecessary. But sometimes something breaks through the Zoloft and I'm like, no, my tummy. And we've just had like kind of a weird week, you and I, and like I'm back from my trip. And I know not everybody listens to the listeners episode, but if you want to hear what I ate on my trip, you can go listen to that. But yeah, I just feel like we're in a weird space. I don't know if this is my Saturn return. I'm not really sure what that means, but maybe that's what's happening. I don't know. I feel like I'm unsettled. I'm like reeling, sort of. And so I think I need to take a little bit of anxiety medication. I'm sorry about it, but I it's just been a long time since my tummy aches won't go away.
Is it like you need like a potty, or your tummy aches you just have a constant flippiness?
Both, but thankfully for you, I'm drinking a venti coffee, so that'll help.
I don't know about that, but okay. I feel the same way. I feel reeling is a good word, and I don't know why. I feel like there's something going on in time and space.
I keep saying tailspin. Like, I feel like I'm in a tailspin almost.
You too. You've said it a lot today.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, please stop. It's annoying.
No, it's become the theme of today.
I described it while I was I used that term while describing something that happened in the car. And then I went, wait. I want to clarify. I was not literally in a tailspin because I was driving my toddler home. I was not in a tailspin, but mentally, indeed, I was. But yeah, it feels like we're reeling. I don't know. Isn't it weird? I feel like something's off in the
something feels very
atmosphere,
off.
Right? Okay.
So if anyone else is feeling that way, and we're back to recording on our usual programming.
Last minute.
When you hear this, it is, if you're listening on the day that it releases, it's pretty close to the time.
Like same week, yeah.
Yeah, this isn't like months in advance anymore. So like if you're feeling it, we're feeling it. Can someone confirm that you're also feeling it? Because something's going on.
Tell Saturn to knock it off.
Is it Saturn's fault today?
I don't know, man. I just keep seeing the word Saturn return and it sounds cool.
Okay. Great.
Also,
go for it.
I was just gonna say, how are you? Why do you drink? What's the haps? What's the tea?
I don't know what the haps is. I was supposed to have another vein surgery tomorrow, and I canceled that shit because I'm over it.
Yes. You can't have a vein surgery amidst your Saturn return, okay? Like, let's all be real.
Please. That's what I told them on the phone.
And they said, this is LA. We get that a lot.
And they went, you're like the third person today.
Yeah. We'll wait for the planets to align.
No, I want to get a second opinion because I think I complained about this to you. I don't know if it was on the show or off the show, but like, it was kind of, I don't want to say shady. I would like to trust that they knew what they were doing, and they never like implied that they didn't know what they were doing. But every time I went in for a checkup, they would say like, oh, you need another ablation. I'm like, you should have fucking told me about that by now. So
I see.
It feels a little, my spidey senses are going up. So I'm going to go to a different doctor and get a second opinion. Mm-hmm. Anyway, what's going on with me? Not much, but really not. Today's Monday. Not for people listening, but for you and me, it's Monday. And Monday is my cleaning day, and so every time that we record, I also know it's cleaning day, and so I get a little overwhelmed because I used to take a nap after we would record, and now I like have to go into like kind of an intense cleaning mode because I'm not Because I have to clean once a week,
I
but
never clean. It's terrible.
It's part of my agreement with myself and also with Allison. I'm trying to contribute more, and I don't. Not that there wasn't like any like big kerfuffle about it. I just want to be better about that, and so I realized that I can't. I'm not one of those people who can do like one room a day, because then I just feel like I have a task that's never been finished.
Right.
So I have to clean everything in one horrible day, and then I have a week to relax in my very clean space.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, that's how I feel right now, where I'm like, oh, I have to do a lot of cleaning after this.
I feel like your house is always clean, but I don't know.
Girl.
I mean, I live in a... That looks more like it. Now that I can relate to.
For those of you on YouTube, this is the troll hole. This is why I have a new background recently, because I just look like, I don't know, my closet and my suitcase all vomited. So...
Okay, I feel better about myself, because that is what my house always looks like. Like, it is not
you
clean.
Have, first of all, that's not true, and also you have a baby, a dog, 2 cats, and a Blaze, and yourself.
It's a circus. So like, what did I do?
And in your house, you also like are one of those like 90s sitcoms where you live right next door to all your family members who are always coming in and out, a la Kimmy Gibbler style. Like, you've got...
I am telling you, I don't clean. I'm not good at it. I'm bad at it. I wish I were better at it. I should probably make an agreement with myself and Blaze, because he cleans everything and does all the dishes and all the laundry. And I sit there and go,
such a superhero.
Ah! Like, I don't know. I'm in a tailspin. What am I doing? I'm literally just spinning on my tail.
It's Saturn.
It's Saturn. Why doesn't anybody understand? Now I just picked up this dirty shirt I was sitting next to. So I was like, what am I holding?
I will say, I feel like this agreement I have...
I like that. It's smart that you have that. Like, I think that's a nice structure.
Thank you. Well, it'll have to change when we move one day, because I mean, I only have like 1,200 square feet I have to care about. If I had your house, I like wouldn't even be able to begin to clean.
I just leave it alone. Like, I just let it.
It'd be so overwhelming.
Like, the other day I walked upstairs and they have like a vent on the side of the wall, and I looked at it and I went, oh my God. It was like just animal hair.
Oh, we have one of those.
Filthy.
It wouldn't have animal hair. It's just like dust, because
accumulates.
We're a couple that some people are not as lucky as we are, but I made one very specific demand when we moved anywhere, and I was like, we have to have central AC. We have to.
Right.
And then it has to be running constantly, even if it's cold outside. And so it just collects so much dust. It's just disgusting.
Yeah. I walked past it and went, oh God, how many of those or similar trinkets are in my house that I don't even notice day to day? And I'm like, oh my God, there's an entire new animal built out of dog hair.
Oh. I'm honestly, if I had an animal, I would also be more overwhelmed, because just the human dust that it is like on things, I get so overwhelmed. Like, I have like all my little tchotchkes. I'm sitting next to like a million of them, and I just know. Hang on, like, just for fun, let's see the finger swipe.
Oh no, don't do that.
Yeah, like I got clean.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's hanging off my finger. It's hanging off it, if you can see that. Yeah, nasty.
We're dirty little rats.
I am a dirty rat, and that is why I drink. Also, I'm home from Sweden. I don't have too much to say, except that it was wonderful, and I'm home. And
to reiterate, because it is a miracle story, that your baby was lovely on the plane.
She's a fucking
to and
delight.
fro.
I mean, okay, it wasn't like easy, but it wasn't as stressful. It was stressful. I haven't even told you. We got on the plane and we had a layover in Detroit and then an overnight flight into Amsterdam, right? We get to Detroit an hour late, miss our flight by like 2 minutes to Europe. And they're like,
oh my God,
the next flight is tomorrow evening. And we're like,
oh my God,
it is 2:00 in the afternoon. And they're like, well, the next flight's tomorrow at 6. So we got stuck in Detroit for a whole day. And I had to do an Instacart from Walmart to get like new clothes. And because I'm not one of those people who follows the rule of pack, your toothbrush and everything and pack in your carry-on. I just don't do it. And so I had to order clothes from
Can
Walmart.
confirm as someone who's traveled quite a lot with you.
I just like don't. I'm like, well, then I'll just buy a toothbrush. I don't know. I don't have time to coordinate. Whatever. So anyway, we're literally in Detroit. I'm getting like emails. So the reason I went to Europe, by the way, guys, is I got a new car for the first time ever. I was very excited about it. It's a Volvo. Am I allowed to tell people that? I guess, right? And
Sure.
so I've been driving my Ford for many, many years. I love the car a lot, but I needed a bigger car. So I was getting a Volvo, and then we found out that for free, fun fact, you can get, well, not for free, it's for the price of the car, which is pricey, but they'll fly you to Sweden, they'll pay for your ticket. And so since Blaze and you get to drive the car there. So since Blaze and I were already going to Europe this year to visit my family in Germany and bring his parents to Germany for the first time, we were like, perfect, we'll just combine the trips. Well, so I'm getting emails from Volvo being like, your factory tour of the Volvo factory is in an hour. And I'm like, I'm in Detroit. Like I don't know, a airport hotel. It was just so basically we got to Sweden. We had about 12 hours there, which was a real bummer because it was so cool for the 12 hours we were there. And drove through Denmark, got on a ferry to Germany, drove to Austria, then drove back to...
Really broke in the mileage on that Volvo, huh?
I think it was 2,600 kilometers.
I don't know what that means.
I don't either.
Kilometers.
Anyway, and now they're like, I guess, shipping it back to me. And I have to pay for it.
So they just give you a little test spin.
I went through 4 countries with it. It was pretty cool. It's a cool program. So if you're looking into getting one, it's a cool idea. It's a cool concept. I am very fortunate I was able to do it, but it was very chaotic. But Leona, I'm telling you, she's a trooper. I feel like we hit every possible like roadblock that you can hit traveling. Like we literally ran out of diapers because I didn't pack enough. Yeah, like every little thing. And she was just such a trooper. We forgot the adapters for the European outlets. So we got to Amsterdam and I was like, we have to charge Leona's tablet so she can watch Dino Ranch. And then the tablet died and I said, oh my God, duty free shop is out. They're sold out of the adapters. It was like every little stupid thing. But all that said, she did great. It was really fun.
The idea, and this sounds like me whining about what it would be like to have a child, but it's supposed to be a compliment to you as a parent because the idea of just packing enough diapers to go out of the country for several days, weeks, I don't know. That alone, I'm like, that's its own suitcase. I don't want to lug it. I can't do this. It
was a lot.
How many diapers do you pack for something like that?
I don't know. I mean, but to be fair, there's diapers everywhere. So like, you know.
But that thought alone would I can't even figure out how many shirts I need to pack to go somewhere. I can't imagine packing for another person and they have so many more needs than me. Oh my God. Like brava. Just well done.
Well, thank you. It is a lot, and hats off to people who like my mom used to travel solo with us as a single mom to Europe, and I'm like, fuck that with both of us, and I'm like, no. And this is pre-tablet days, you know, like she, like I don't know,
pre-Dino Ranch.
Can you even imagine? So it was just like, a hats off to you, and I am very well aware that like Leona had both sets of grandparents there. Like Blaze's parents were there. My mom and stepdad were there. And then we visited my dad in Austria. So like at all times, there were multiple grandparents and my brother went, you know, so it was like there were plenty of people around to help. So that was part of why it was manageable. But
how long of a flight is it to all the way over there?
I think it was like 7.5, 8 hours.
Oh, that's not as bad as I was imagining.
No, so it was like
flying to LA.
No, LA's like about 4.
From where you are?
Yeah. It's 3 hour 45 minute, I think. Exactly.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy. To Richmond or DC, it's like a 6-hour flight.
Well, for me to DC is about an hour and a half, an hour. So maybe that's why? I don't know.
I don't know. Anyway, this is the least interesting conversation I would want to listen to.
Anyway, I just loved my time there. It's been a long time since I was able to go to Europe, so it was nice to be there. And I drank a lot of beer, and I had a great time. So I'm back and I'm ready to get back into the swing of things if Saturn will ever give it a rest.
She won't. She's an evil, dirty rat.
She knows
Speaking
what
of dirty
doing.
rats, this is your weekly reminder to drink, you thirsty, dirty little rats.
I'm drinking some coffee with a pumpkin in it.
I am going to crack into it.
Oh, we're doing that again.
With my Beveragino, a San Pellegrino.
Whoa.
It's our favorite combined flavor.
Those are my favorite.
Orange.
I love
They're also
blood
my
orange.
favorite. We just bought like our first like multi-pack of these. I feel like I've only ever bought them as like you like walk past them in the store and there's like the individual cans.
I buy the boxes of them.
This is my first time having multiple at my leisure because usually I see it in the fridge and I'm like, I'm going to save that as a little treat when I do something good. But now I have so many, I can just drink it whenever I want. Oh,
yeah, you
freedom. Can. Okay, well, let's tell a story.
I guess. How does this work? I forget.
This is, let's see. What's my topic?
We don't even know.
Yeah. I did know it, and then I went to bed, and then I woke up and I forgot.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So this is another one of those, I don't know what to call them in my mind. I call them amalgamation stories.
What a word.
Because I prefer the stories where I've got like a beginning, middle, and end, and like these are the ghosts, and this is how the house, got haunted. But there's some places where it's just really like there's a lot of ghosts, and so it becomes one of those. I'm just kind of spitting out like random bullets. An amalgamation, actually.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Anyway, here's your smorgasbord of ghost stories in Yosemite.
Yosemite
National Park?
Whoa, I didn't know there were ghosts in there.
Oh, okay. I was like, do I have to tell you what Yosemite is?
I'm sorry. It took me a minute. I was like, in Yosemite, and then I thought you were gonna say like hotel Sam? Or something. Sam,
Yosemite
yeah.
Sam.
I thought you were gonna say like, oh, it's a Yosemite official hotel. I don't know. I should have said the whole park.
I should have said Yosemite National Park as like the closer.
Wow. Okay. I'm now in it. I get it. I'm following.
Okay. Well, yeah. So apparently there's a lot of spooky stuff going on there. I will say in advance, this is like me prefacing the fact that at a lot of national parks, any of the spooky stories end up having some sort of vague indigenous roots, and a lot of times that maybe they're true, but also I don't totally love the idea of me, a white person, parroting like alleged curses.
Right.
Like I don't like that. So
especially because a lot of times, I mean, it's hard to like put into words, but I know exactly what you're saying, and I feel like the way I've heard it best explained was on Lore podcast once. Aaron Mankey said something like, it is kind of a cheap cop out to just blame any sort of paranormal, and again, I'm just trying to reiterate what he said, but he basically said it in a really like just a very poignant
eloquent
way. Eloquent, yeah, very eloquent way of just saying, like it just is an easy cop out, and it also puts such a bad spin on something that like it's like fear mongering almost, you know what I mean?
Well, just
like,
emboldens like othering them, and
yes,
or, like,
exactly.
Especially, I mean, with how, and this isn't like new information. I don't think I'm like giving like a particularly
but
original PSA here, but like just like how in times where I've covered burial grounds or even haunted houses, and they claim that there was some sort of indigenous tribe that lived there and they cursed the land or something. It's always gives me a weird feeling to talk about it.
It turns it's like, oh, they're the bad guy, they're the enemy. It's like that's...
also that they're spooky and they're eerie and they're taboo. Like it really paints a really bad
100%. Yes,
it just paints additional negativity
like
on like a group
like
that's already suffering.
Like right, exactly. That's the last thing they need. And I like the way you put it of like it emboldens people. I didn't know you were so eloquent. Emboldens people to
amalgamation,
continue othering them.
Beveragino, San Pellegrino.
Okay, all right, calm down.
That one sounds like an actual curse. So
that one, now I feel like you're cursing me 100%. Yeah.
No, but just as I'm telling these stories, like, I'm not trying to perpetuate anything. If I'm going to give you the facts, I just want you to also know, like, where the lore is coming from.
That's great.
Okay, so Yosemite National Park, this is where I also want to mention that this was once, and still is, an ancestral homeland to the Southern Sierra Miwok Nation. They still exist today, and in 1851, can you guess what happens to them? They're forced out of their home.
Something great?
They're forced out of their home.
Fucking
and many
horrible.
Here's, like, the extra, like, weird kick in the pants, where I feel like this was, like, supposed to be like I don't know, some sort of, like, perk to it. I don't know.
Like a redeeming
some
or a
sort of, like, we're kicking you out, and it's, like, not even really totally worth it, I guess.
Right.
So they were forced out of their homeland, and many of the original indigenous names of the area were kept. So, there's, like, a lot of canyons
They're like,
or whatever.
You can't live here, but we'll name it after you.
Exactly.
Great.
It's like that's just a big fuck you.
Super.
And the one name that they did not keep was Awani, which is the name of the valley that became Yosemite.
Oh.
So they renamed Yosemite
after
but
Sam.
let everything. Yeah.
I get it now.
Uncle Sam,
I'm sorry, yeah, Uncle Sam indeed. Womp womp.
But yeah, so they dubbed it Yosemite. It used to be Ahwahnee, Ahwahhnee, and it was the original name of the area. So Yosemite, here's an additional kick in the pants on top of the other kick in the pants.
Mm-hmm.
Yosemite is a word that is like a corrupted European word for grizzly bears, which is what they called people in the indigenous tribes.
Fucking hell. Okay. Wow.
Not like because there were grizzly bears, God forbid.
That's what I thought was going to happen, but it was so much worse than that.
They could have also, like, they could have just said, oh, for the grizzly bears, and then just, like, not fucking added on to that.
Like, but why even, right? Yeah.
Man, I'm just so sorry. After that, people moved into the valley. I'm sorry, white people moved into the valley.
What people discovered it, you mean?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Saturn is making me
I like how it's
catty today.
This is where, like, Blaze would roll his eyes because he's like, it's not Saturn, it's your Zoloft. Like,
yeah. You are jet lagged and taking your Zoloft at the wrong time of day, Christine. That's literally all it is.
So, yeah. So that, by the way, like, Yosemite being like a clunky version of grizzly bear, which they used as a slur, like, makes me not want to call it Yosemite. Like,
no, that's disturbing. I didn't know that.
After that, so white people move into the valley, and they move basically into the Sierra Nevadas for gold, and tourism becomes this huge industry. So by the early 1900s, hotels are making pretty good money in the area, and in 1927, a hotel opens there, which, gotta love another kick in the pants. The hotel is called the Ahwahnee Hotel. So they'll call the hotel ran by white people,
if
probably.
They can make money off of it, right?
I'm assuming white people owned it because it just feels like an extra mean thing to do. Maybe indigenous people opened it and this was like an homage. I don't know the situation. I don't know the history of the name. But it just feels like we could call the hotel that, but not the actual fucking area that.
Yeah, I get it.
Fun fact, the interior of this hotel is allegedly the inspiration for the Overlook Hotel in The Shining.
No way!
Mm-hmm. And I especially like that because the Overlook Hotel was haunted, and so was this hotel.
Okay, there we go.
So some of the ghosts in this hotel are a former manager of the hotel named Mary Curry Tressiter. She was a manager who lived on the 6th floor. I like that one of her perks was just like living in her own hotel.
I love it.
I actually really do like that because it's kind of like being of the people. It's like, I know what it's like to live here.
Yeah, it's like undercover boss.
It's she was the original undercover boss, I guess.
She's like, you're not dusting the blinds well enough. And I can see it with my own eyes.
It's like, our blinds look like Christine's shelf where dust is dangling off our fingers.
Just hanging off of it. That's part of the mystique, you know? Part of it.
So Mary, she lived on the 6th floor, and when she died, the space that she lived in ended up becoming several guest rooms. So I guess she maybe had like the biggest room for it to become multiple rooms.
Good for her.
She's still known to check on the guests, which makes me sad that even in the afterlife, I feel like they're trying to make it like, oh, she just loved being here so much, but also like maybe she's stuck in some eternal work hell.
I feel like you tell those stories a lot where it's like people who worked at a bar and now they're still serving drinks and people are always like, "Aw," and it's like, no, that's terrible. They're working.
The only job I can imagine is fulfilling,
in forever.
Even, yeah, forever. Is being a podcaster.
I mean, like literally.
Is just getting to hang out with your best friend.
And talk. And even that would get old after 500,000 years.
I'd still only haunt you like once a week, just like we do right now.
Right. A limited amount of time for sure. Yeah.
But I can't imagine like a physical labor or like a constantly being worried about other people.
So much work.
Ooh, you're supposed to rest from that now. But not her. She's still chugging.
Not a break.
So she'll check on guests. She cleans up after them, especially if you're on the 6th floor. A lot of people will wake up to their clothes folded and their rooms tidied, which feels like such a fuck you. It's like I couldn't wait for you to leave because this was so.
Yes, it's like those tropes. Oh, I almost had a different, but yes, I now see what you're saying. Like, oh, like, okay, let's wrap it up. To me, it's like that trope of like your mother-in-law visiting, and to be clear, I don't have this situation, thank God, but like your mother-in-law visiting and like cleaning up her way, because like your way isn't good enough. Like,
and like she can't get it off her mind. Like she's Monica Gellering. Like she's very
like, oh, I'm sorry, I noticed that there was a bit of a mess, so I handled it for you. That kind of thing is the vibe I get from somebody else coming into my room and folding my clothes.
In that world, Allison is so lucky because if
you don't clean her shit.
Well, I was gonna say if like we're doing the in-law trope of like someone coming and cleaning for you.
Oh, right. Allison
does not have to worry about that with my mother because my mom like barely has any vision left.
Oh,
and so
God.
It's a normal fact in our family.
I didn't know
but she has only like maybe 20% of her vision, 10% of her vision.
I just saw her. I had no idea.
She makes it look easy, apparently. I don't know. She's always she really I feel like we forget a lot that she like really can't see all that well. She doesn't have her peripheral Vision or her depth perception. So she's just kind of walking around with a third of her vision. Cool. But it's always worked out as a child because like if things were messy, she never noticed. It worked out very well.
She couldn't even see the dust hanging off my fingers. Meanwhile, my mom walks around and goes like, the hell is that? And I'm like, what? She's like, that giant stain of purple on the floor. And I'm like, hasn't that always been there? And she's like, it's all wet. And I'm like, oh, it must be juice.
You know what's wild though is for a long time my mom had like heightened senses, but now she also needs like hearing aids. So like it's getting easier to trick her,
That's just great. I'm sure she'll love to hear that.
Oh no, it's become a bit of a running thing in the family. But
excellent.
She's got like a real bloodhound like nose though, which it's scary what she can smell.
That is actually frightening.
It's crazy. I'm like blown away by her nose every time. But with her eyesight though, it was always like even like cleaning up the kitchen, like it was a very lax life that I lived because no one was ever as if you told her it was clean over there, she doesn't have her peripheral vision. She just go, oh, it's clean. It's great.
Yeah,
it worked out very well.
It was also lax in my world because my mom just cleaned everything, and then
oh yeah, that's another good way to live it.
I became an adult, and I went, wait, I don't want to do it, and no one else is gonna do it.
It's also like the opposite would happen too, where if I actually did clean, she wouldn't even notice, so it wouldn't even feel like worth it.
You're 100% right. What's the fucking point?
I just spent like multiple weeks with her, and now that I'm constantly in my like I've got a clean zone, I would clean, and then she'd come home and just like not even notice, and I was like, well, this isn't worth it, so I'm just not going to do it.
Fuck me then, I guess.
No, so it's I wonder if she was in this hotel, if someone was folding up her clothes, if she'd even notice. She'd be like, oh, I don't know.
She would be like, how dare you? I put a lot of work into this.
I know. Yeah, no, but in the trope of an in-law, Allison's got it made in the shade because we can just tell my mom the place is clean. She's like, excellent. You have
just
the cleanest place
I've ever seen. Just put a bunch of Febreze, since she can smell so well. Just spray Febreze everywhere.
Honestly, the only thing you have to do is take out the trash.
Oh,
she's good. she's good. She's set.
Yeah.
It's perfect. Anyway, so this ghost would be really disappointed if my mom were in the room and didn't appreciate what she's doing for her. But other people have noticed that all their stuff is like moved around, or that their clothes are hung, and that things just look a little neater than they left it. On top of that, she's also seen walking through the halls, which is like kind of its own usual ghosty thing, just walking through halls. But she opens doors, she flickers lights. I think it's like they say that she's just checking in on guests, which makes me think she also peeks around doors, which freaks me out.
Nope.
And in the 1960s, so we're done with her, apparently. This is part of the this is part of the amalgamation situation.
I see. The smorgasbord is in action. Okay.
It's like there's no good flow to it. I'm just like, open that bullet's over. Next. So in the 1960s, JFK stayed here, apparently, and he had back pain, so he requested a rocking chair.
That's what I'm feeling nowadays. People are like, I request painkillers and a massage, but I guess
can you imagine at a hotel? Could you even request a rocking chair anymore?
If you're the president, probably.
That's true.
But I don't know.
We could just pull a Christina and just like Instacart, Walmart, a rocking chair.
I will find a rocking chair and I will not have to speak to a soul, which is my superpower. If I can avoid talking to any human souls, I can still get you what you need. A rocking chair? I'm on it.
There's nothing Christine loves more than getting like settled after a flight and doing a Target delivery.
Just the best. Just fucking go for it.
And then also a Drizzly drop off.
Of course. And then they all show up at the same time and I'm like, oh, it's all for me. And they're like, are you okay? And I'm like, no, thank you. Bye.
Christine has, I don't think there's ever been a time you've come to Los Angeles and didn't have both a Target and Drizzly order already prepared. You're just waiting to press order when you get.
Plane. Yeah, I do it on the plane. It's only 4 hours, as you know now.
Well, yeah, apparently. So in the 1960s, JFK requested a rocking chair when he stayed at this hotel, and once he left, the chair was removed from the room, but apparently people still hear a rocking chair, and one will just straight up appear and vanish at random times. Now, that would be a fun trick on my mom. It'd be like, oh, where's the rocking chair?
That's mean.
No, but like apparently just shows up.
But that's so weird. So it's like, do you think it's because JFK was in it? Like, I don't understand why.
I don't know.
It's strange to me. Like, what?
A lot of there's some stories that say that they think JFK is like coming back, which I've never loved a hotel enough where I'm like in the afterlife.
Especially
I'm definitely
if you're
gonna
in pain while you're there, right? Like if his back was hurting.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I don't think a rocking chair fixed it.
They say either he comes back, or this is my personal favorite, is that some other ghost saw him in a rocking chair and like saw that was like something I guess option. He could now do. So now he haunts with his own rocking chair, apparently. I don't.
What? Okay. He's like, I'll bring my BYORC. He's like, I just didn't bring my own rocking chair. I'm gonna do that to the next hotel we go to. Just like, oh, I brought my own rocking chair. Don't mind me.
Honestly, in today's world, there's nothing I love more than like smart tech and like smart gear, like tech gear.
Yeah.
And a lot of shit is like collapsible. If they could make a collapsible rocking chair, I would eat that shit up. I would travel with one every day.
I know you would. And now I'm worried that it exists and someone's going to tag you in it. And now we're going to have to add it to our fucking luggage list.
Can you imagine if there was a collapsible giant Adirondack chair?
Don't.
Can you imagine?
I kind of think they are collapsible, right? Like, isn't that part of the...
Well, if you take the nails out, they collapse pretty good.
Oh, okay. I thought some of them fold up.
No, not that I know of.
I mean, I think
they... Oh, I know what you're saying. I think they do fold up, but they're still so wonky and like
they're still
clunky
very
and big.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like you like lift up a hand, like there's like an arm piece or something, and then all of it just kind of like folds into a perfect little bundle.
Like my travel stroller where you hit one button and it like whoop. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad you actually have that. I've been wanting to ask you because it's all over my algorithm.
Which one?
Collapsible stroller.
Oh, there's a lot of them. I don't know.
There is?
One.
Oh, there's only one that keeps popping up and it blows my mind every time. I don't know if it's yours.
Can you send it to me?
Yeah, it's really tiny. It's like it ends up being like this big.
Oh no, that is not what I have for sure.
Oh, so mine's better. Okay, got it.
Your stroller's better than mine. What else is new?
So anyway, apparently there's a ghost who's just like ran with this and theoretically it's ran with this rocking chair idea, and it's like, that's not that bad of an idea, President JFK. Yeah. I'm gonna do that now. So people just see it, hear it, and there's a haunted rocking chair.
Okay. I mean, it is spooky.
The next bullet, is in 1857, there was a park ranger named Galen Clark. And he was on a hike when he heard a wailing crying, and he said it sounded like a lost puppy.
Oh, no.
He ends up running into a group of indigenous people who were hunting and asked if they lost one of their hunting dogs. And they apparently told Galen, oh, that's not one of our dogs. That's actually the spirit of a little boy that drowned nearby, and people still hear him crying.
Don't worry about that. It's not our dog. It's something much more sinister.
It's actually much worse. Don't you wish it was one of our dogs?
Deeply upsetting. Don't you wish my dog was lost? Oh my God.
And apparently people will hear this wailing out in the woods by themselves.
Oh, that's horrible.
But if you try to get in the water to save somebody, then apparently you'll get pulled under and you become one of the ghosts that haunts the area.
Oh, no.
Also, this was in 1857. I wonder if they knew about like whirlpools and riptides and shit. Like maybe it's not the ghost of a little boy. Maybe you just get yanked under. I don't know. Maybe it's the little boy.
They didn't know about riptides. They were just like, it's a ghost.
I don't know. Or maybe it's part of like really like it's like important lore. I don't know I get all the importance of it. But in my mind, I feel like today someone could just say like, oh, dangerous waters.
Right. Right. I understand what you're saying.
If I heard lost puppy, I wouldn't be consoled to then hear, nope, dead boy. Like,
no, certainly not.
I'd just be like, that's just the sound of the water. Ignore it.
It's like literally worst case scenario.
Anyway, today that spirit is still known, ever since the 1850s or whatever, it's still known as the crying ghost of Grouse Lake. Aww. And people still hear him. Also in Yosemite is Tenaya Canyon. Tenaya. I think it's Tenaya. And it's also known as the Bermuda Triangle of Yosemite.
What?
Which I've never covered the Bermuda Triangle, but I do have notes that I'm building for that. So I'd like to
do? Now that I'm excited for.
It's called the Bermuda Triangle of Yosemite because that location is known for its many helicopter rescues, disappearances, and fatalities. And exploring this canyon is heavily discouraged. It's so dangerous because the terrain has waterfalls that you have to climb, mandatory swims, mountains you rappel down, and ice-like slippery cliffs.
Okay, this doesn't seem much like Bermuda Triangle, more just like a very dangerous area.
Yeah, it just seems like, Bermuda Triangle, I feel like part of that is there's a mystery to it, but there's no mystery here.
Exactly. Like, this is like, I know why people go missing here.
Yeah. Others say that the canyon is very dangerous because, again, it is allegedly cursed by the native people who lived here. Allegedly, the chief watched his son be murdered, and then the chief cursed the murderer. Okay. But then that doesn't make sense because if he only cursed the murderer and not the land, then why would this land still be problematic?
Yeah, it doesn't quite track.
So, anyway, true or not, this curse has become like classic urban lore for climbers and backpackers, and they'll say like, oh, well, my hike didn't go well, but it's because of the curse, not like because you're like underprepared.
Because I have to climb a waterfall. It has nothing to do with that.
Right. Another indigenous curse here is said to be of Pohono, who is a spirit who will lure hikers to the edges of cliffs and push them over.
Oh, no.
Pohono is said to lure you with a, quote, hypnotic rainbow in the mist. And those who fall end up haunting the cliffs.
I was going to say, what could possibly drag you to a cliff? And then I was like, ooh, a rainbow.
That's what I thought. I was like, hypnotic rainbow in the mist. That sounds... And I've seen them before, and they are luring.
Em and I are screwed. We're going to walk right off that cliff.
Totally. There are also plenty of ghost stories on the general campsite, so people will hear like howling and footsteps and screams and wails at night. Some campsites have their own legends, including campsite number 6, where someone allegedly died, and now if you look out of your tent in the middle of the night, you'll see them peeking at you from behind the trees.
That's bad.
In 1965, Another hotel opened for Yosemite tourists, and it was called Wawona Hotel.
Okay.
The Wawona Hotel is known specifically in the when it comes to the spooky stories. I don't know much about the Wawona Hotel except for the fact that it has this suite called the Moore Cottage.
Okay.
So in the 1920s, a pilot actually crashed a small plane near the hotel, and they brought him in and let him stay in the Moore Cottage until a doctor got there, but he ended up dying from his injuries.
Oh, shit. Oh, no.
Today, people still see a pilot wandering around Moore Cottage, and they see him in like full flight garb. So he's in like his scarf and helmet and goggles. And some say he might be a residual spirit because he doesn't actually acknowledge anyone or anything. He just appears and vanishes. But he was also like incredibly injured when he was there. So why is he just walking around?
Well, so don't they say that like ghosts sometimes come back in like a more healthy form?
Maybe.
But also, I feel like that's usually when people are like getting visitations and stuff.
Right. Another theory is that his spirit has healed, but he's confused about where he is, so he actually can't cross over.
Oh, well, that's sad.
Yeah. But I don't know. I'm reporting the news, man. I don't know what to tell you.
How dare you tell me that?
But no, I hope it's just a residual spirit of him less injured versus like him actually not being able to get anywhere, you know?
Being lost. Yeah, that's sad.
In 2018, there's a review of the hotel online that says one of the guests in Moore Cottage actually claims to have witnessed the residual haunting or reactions of the crash, of the plane crash.
Whoa.
In the middle of the night, they heard people rushing around outside of their hotel room, shouting outside of the door, lights turning on by itself, footsteps. It just sounded like a whole party was like running through the halls, freaking out. And the next day, the guest asked about what was happening, and he found out he was the only person in the cottage that night.
No. Ew. Do you think that's why it was able to like play out? Because it was just so empty? Like, do you know what I mean? They were like, okay, there's plenty of room to replay this scenario. Ooh.
I hated that, Christine. That
gives me shivers. I don't know. That sucked.
Or do you think maybe it happens all the time and you just don't notice if it's...
That's true. If there's like a lot of people around, maybe. Yeah, that's fair.
I like to think yours seems more powerful. In the worst way.
The worst way, for sure. For sure.
The next day, the guest asked about the party next door, found out they were the only guests that night. In 1985, guests in the same hotel room were watching TV when a 10-foot rug in their room levitated off the floor and floated towards them. Ooh. Another time in this hotel, there was one night where the manager...
I can show you though. Sorry.
Can you imagine if you just hopped on it?
I wonder what would happen.
Yeah. What it like floated towards you to do what? Like what?
To also, take you on a magical ride? I don't understand.
Also, a 10-foot area rug wasn't being held down by anything. Like, how big is this fucking hotel room?
That's a great point. Like, not even a single table leg was on it.
Right. Anyway, okay, just money bags. That sounds great.
All right, all your big rugs everywhere.
I couldn't afford a 10-foot area rug. Oh my god. I've got this little dinky IKEA one. And I was like, that's too much damn money. And it's, by the way, held down so it can never levitate towards me in a million years.
That is why I put furniture on my rugs, just in case they float away, you know?
You never know.
You never know.
People have also claimed to get pictures of weird things in these hotel rooms, including one guest who allegedly captured a screaming face in her window.
Oh, no.
And one night the manager was alone in the kitchen and the fire pole station, its alarm went off. And this is some sort of alarm that has to be physically activated, so it doesn't just go off by itself.
Ooh.
And they were alone in the kitchen and this alarm goes off. So the manager goes to turn off the alarm and realizes that the pole station that had been activated was only 10 feet away from him. Yeesh.
Yeesh.
Another mystery in Yosemite is, of course, say it with me, the severed deer heads. In 1998, there was a ranger who was hiking several miles from his car, and he came across a deer head that was not on the deer's body. And he realized that the deer head had been, it wasn't like I don't know in what world this is of natural causes, but he realized very quickly it wasn't of natural causes and that the deer head had been freshly cut with some sort of blade.
Ugh.
The ranger has then been quoted saying, "Any type of hunting was and is illegal in Yosemite, and as I was looking around wondering what was going on, the hairs on my neck really started to stand up as I realized the body of the deer was nowhere to be found."
Oh, ew, it wasn't like nearby. Ugh.
And there was no blood at the scene. That meant that someone had intentionally killed the deer somewhere else and then intentionally taken the head and left it right there in the middle of the trail.
Yeah, and it happened to be seen. You said he's a ranger, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yikes.
So the ranger buried the head and kept walking and found another severed deer head. He then buried this one too, and he started to think that whoever was leaving these might be watching nearby.
I was gonna say, like, that would be my first thought. That I was
Me
being
too,
watched.
like fresh blood pouring out of a deer head. He then finds a third severed head, but this one is now mainly just skull because it's decomposed over the last few weeks. So that let him know that this is happening now and was happening a few weeks ago.
Yeah, good point. Okay.
The ranger tried to radio in about this to other rangers, but he didn't have a code word for severed deer heads.
You don't say.
And so he ended up being afraid that maybe someone was watching him and was overhearing him. So he didn't want to say anything that would startle anyone. And he just said, "Never mind," and just finished his patrol and walked away. And it never got figured out.
I just picture when you say "never mind" that he was like trying to hint at it, like taboo, like you can't
like,
say certain words.
No severed heads here. Like,
yeah, and they're like, "That's good," and he's like, "You know what? Forget it. You guys aren't picking up what I'm putting down."
I feel like you probably just got frustrated. Yeah, that's why you got to have a code word. You got to have code words with people
for everything,
that matter.
including severed deer head.
You and I actually probably need a code word. Allison and I have a few code words, but
I was gonna say we don't even have one. I feel like you and I would be the first culprits to have our own code word, and we don't have one. Wait, yes, we do. We do. Now I have to tell you the code word without telling you the code word.
I know. Hang on, let
me text it to you.
Okay, I can't even. Whatever it is, it's been lost to me, and I would have never even thought to say it.
I think you would. I think once you realize.
What? Hang on, I'm still waiting.
Okay, I just sent it.
It's not coming
to the
through.
Group chat.
I'm looking. Okay, yeah, you're right.
Eva remembered. Eva said, "Oh my god, I was about to send it." Yeah, that was the one we came up while traveling because we were like, if we don't want anyone to talk to us, like each other, if we're having like a crisis, if we're in a tailspin, this is the word we use.
If one of the three of us needs to be left alone and not spoken to,
and it's not like, oh, I need to fix what's going on. It's like, just don't talk, don't come near me. I don't think we ever really used it because I think we
ended up using it. We ended up using it as an overall, like a catch-all word for when other people were pissing us off. We would use it amongst each other.
We used it completely incorrectly from its original intent.
It ended up being if any of us were overwhelmed by like something going on at the venue.
Right. Which was
By the way, this is not like it was like all like backstage stuff. So if anyone's like getting paranoid, you did not do anything.
No. It was like either like our luggage disappeared or, you know, shit like that.
Or people like certain venues where let's just say going on tour, we've learned quite a lot about the ways of venues, and we learned that there's quite a lot of misogyny.
Yeah, there's some cute mishaps that occur.
When three people who walk in and sound very feminine are the only three that they can speak to, we found out that a lot of people don't like to take orders from quote, women or feminine presenting people.
I know it's hard to believe.
That's when we would start using that code a lot, so they didn't know what we were talking about. But we'd warn each other. Eva would come up to us and just give us the code, and that's how we knew that it was going to be a bumpy ride.
Red alert! Red alert!
Okay, so anyway, where were we? Severed heads. So
right.
Apparently he just like left, and then it never got solved. I don't know. That makes me think that no one was watching, because they definitely watched you pick up multiple severed heads and then like oddly not mention it on a radio.
I would think so. Yeah. Unless he's covering for himself and he did it. I don't know, but that doesn't really make sense either.
Now that's the true crime brain of Christine Schieffer.
I'm just saying, he who smelt it dealt it, and that
How
applies
convenient.
to severed deer heads.
How convenient that he'd be the one to find these heads.
Extremely convenient.
So, fun fact, Yosemite is also where people saw the second sighting of the Fresno night crawlers.
That's right! I remember the video!
So I actually have the link for you so you can rewatch it.
This video creeps me the F out, dude.
It creeps me out too. I think I forgot how creepy it is.
Incredibly unsettling.
It actually does not make fucking sense.
No, it's really uncomfy to watch. Really uncomfy.
Send it to you. It's
okay, I'm gonna go
and we'll post it on our Instagram for people, but it just makes no goddamn sense.
I'm gonna mute it and watch it. Oh, it's so unsettlingly creepy.
So for those of you who are
kind of smooth,
yeah,
it glides. And then there's another one. I forgot about the other one.
It feels like it has to be drunk people wearing sheets or something. It looks a little like a drunken stroll, but
yeah, it's almost too intentional with its legs.
Yeah,
here I go.
Yeah. Well, so for those of you who are not on YouTube or near Instagram right now,
I hate it.
Basically in 2011, after the first sighting in Fresno of the Fresno Nightcrawlers, in 2011, the second sighting was when a couple aimed their security cards at their security camera at their driveway to monitor potential break-ins, and they caught in their yard these two Fresno Nightcrawlers walking very weirdly.
Ugh, it's so creepy.
And these anyway, so that's I just wanted to mention that because we have talked about the Nightcrawlers before. That was episode 277 if you want to go listen to it.
It was a great episode.
The Nightcrawlers are also some of the most beloved of the cryptids. A lot of people say that they're just very friendly and sweet. Although there's some people who say that what you're seeing in the video of them walking like that, that's them walking slowly. And they can actually charge at you.
Why would anyone know that? I want to ask the person who explained that to be okay, what's your fucking resume that you can tell me that? How would you know that? How could you possibly know how fast they can walk? What do you mean? You're not.
Maybe that was a Fresno Nightcrawler in the basement just typing it out.
Maybe, because I don't understand how else anybody would know that. But I hate the thought of it, and
I also hate the thought
mad
of it.
about it. So
not only does Yosemite have potentially night crawlers, but they also have theories about aliens and UFOs. And they're the main reason that people think there could be aliens and UFOs, beyond the fact that it's this big eerie mountain where there's caves and all that good stuff, is that there are a significant amount of missing children's cases.
Oh shit!
And this is another thing where I'm saying aliens and UFOs is maybe a more lighthearted way to try to look at that, but it's still really intense trauma that children go through.
Yeah.
So maybe it's aliens, maybe it's something much more real.
Maybe it's us trying to make ourselves feel better by saying it's aliens. Yeah. I got you.
So I will say, if there's a good thing to these abduction cases, they all follow this really weird, similar pattern where all the kids are usually you're gonna be fine. Hang on. The kids are usually 18 to 24 months old that are going missing, and they disappear near huckleberry trees. But the real wild thing is that all of the kids, or at least most of the kids, are found completely unharmed. But the weird part is that they're in unexplainable locations.
Okay, I've heard about this phenomenon.
It's very weird, multiple tens of miles away from where they went missing.
Yeah, and I've heard that
no scratches,
they're
no
perfectly
dirt on them,
clean and fed.
Yeah, they're barefoot, which is weird sometimes.
Yeah.
One boy was found 12 miles away, but also 2 mountain peaks away. So
come on.
He would have had to have climbed 2 fucking mountain peaks to get where he was.
Explain that.
Some of the kids have also been found thousands of feet higher in elevation, which would have required professional climbing gear and the ability to do that.
Yeah, and I've also heard with those cases as well, it's there's a natural instinct for humans. If you're lost, there's a very natural instinct of trying to find your way. And this does not follow that pattern at all. They end up in very weird places that don't fit where a kid or a person would normally try and find their way back. Just weird shit.
So people have blamed aliens, picking them up and then 5 seconds later realizing they don't want their responsibility and dumping the kid back.
This
is
a lot of work. It's true.
People have also said apparently there's a pterodactyl-like cryptid that has been known to lurk around the mountain.
What?
So they think they're getting picked up and dropped by kids.
And like it's just taking their shoes.
Yeah, I guess so. People have also said, that there's apparently Bigfoot is an option. And then the most realistic, besides like Bigfoot. Hikers. Oh. Well, besides Bigfoot. Besides actual hikers maybe truly trying to abduct children. They also think that it could be really big birds picking them up thinking they're prey, and then they're too heavy and dropping the kid, but then that wouldn't explain whether or not dirty or crying or bloody or scratched
and why
up.
They didn't say big bird picked me up.
Right. Well, to the same reasoning, a lot of people think that maybe it's bears, because all of these kids are being taken by huckleberry bushes, but also like most of them are being found completely unharmed. So anyway, it's very odd. It's just a really weird thing.
It is very
Speaking of Bigfoot, a lot of people have seen Bigfoot out here, or at least some sort of big hairy monster. Again, could just be bears. But one camper in Yosemite has heard heavy footsteps heading for his tent and saw what he called it a furry Goliath.
Ooh.
My favorite thing about this story is that it's like a 1-sentence story of like, oh, I saw what I thought was Bigfoot. And it ends with both of them screaming and running away from each other.
Wait, both of them?
It's like they Freaky Friday'd or something and scared each other. There's also a creature out there called the devil ape or devil fang, but it's also been recently called the Watts Valley wolf ape because it's been seen near the Watts Valley Cemetery. And this wolf ape,
I've never heard of that.
Me either. It just sounds kind of like kind of another Bigfoot,
like another skunk ape type thing.
Yeah. So it's this gray, mangy-haired human ape combo hybrid kind of thing.
Sure.
He apparently coughs and foams at the mouth, so we're thinking rabies or COVID with all the coughing. That freaks me out.
COVID, oh no.
And one time a photographer was in Yosemite and actually saw a pack of them run up to his tent. And then we don't really hear how that ended. All these stories, you never hear how they ended. I want to know how they ended.
If this happened to me, I'd be like, you better believe I'm telling you every single fucking second of what happened.
Yeah, it's like the fact that it was anticlimactic every time at the end makes me think this story isn't real.
Don't feel like finishing the story. Like, come on.
It's like, first of all, a pack of them, so there's more than one. A pack of them run up to you, and then you just went to bed. What? Okay. Another time, a wolf ape went into a one-room schoolhouse that apparently is in Yosemite, which now I need to know more about.
Yes, you do. And imagine you are at a one-room schoolhouse and a cryptid shows up. Like, I would
die out of bliss. I'd be like,
that'd be your dream.
That's it now. I've seen it all.
That's it. I peaked.
So there's a one-room schoolhouse, which I need to figure out where that is. And a wolf ape apparently came charging in and terrorized the students and the teacher. And the teacher locked themselves in a closet.
Oh, it was during school?
During school. No, for fun. The students and teachers hang out together at the schoolhouse.
Well, and I thought it was like a current story. Like it's just a one-room schoolhouse that was like historic or something. I don't know.
It sounds like they literally were trying to put all their desks on top of each other to try to blockade this wolf ape from getting in. Again, guess what? We don't know how it ends, but I guess at least someone survived to tell the tale. And then the last time one was seen, it was in the 1990s. A wolf ape was said to be drinking water out of Bass Lake. So anyway, that is just a sampling, a smorgasbord, and amalgamation of the creatures and the spookiness that is Yosemite National Park.
What a fucking adventure. What a journey you just took me on.
Thank you. Well, I'm about to take myself on another journey when I figure out what this schoolhouse is all about. Before we even get into your story, I gotta say, speaking of schoolhouses, that was Gio, yes?
Sorry.
Speaking of schoolhouses, I got back in touch. Where's this going? Nowhere really that special. I just wanted to. This is where the podcast becomes more of a phone call where I'm just telling you things and I don't really.
Great.
I don't. You guys, no one really wants the update.
You don't need to listen to this part. Just pretend we're talking. Pretend you're eavesdropping.
Yeah, just make some small discussion groups around amongst yourself, and we'll be back in a second.
Yeah, talk amongst yourselves for a moment.
But while I have you, Christine, so fun fact: before I went to the school I went to, my kindergarten and my preschool were a schoolhouse, and so I recently got back in touch. Apparently there's like an alumni Facebook group of people who went to my schoolhouse.
Like your preschool?
Yeah. Like it was like preschool and kindergarten alumni. The group was created by actually a friend of mine.
Oh my God.
I didn't even know that. I was scrolling down to see how long this group has been around, and it said like that, like someone I know created it, and I was like, I didn't even know that this was a thing.
Why didn't they invite you? That's awkward.
I know. We're fighting now. They don't know that though. But anyway, I got back in touch with my I don't know if they were the principal or whoever, but it was a married couple who ran this schoolhouse, and their names were Mr. Rick and Miss Vicky. And
stop, not Miss Vicky.
Miss Vicky was a peach. I love Miss Vicky. And Mr. Rick and I are Facebook friends now.
Mr. Rick? I mean, come on.
And I literally in the alumni Facebook group, I like still feel weird as like a 31-year-old person to call him anything other than Mr. Rick.
I know, right? You get that weird, like Leona's teacher, it's like Miss blank, like Miss Kate or Miss whatever, and it's like it feels so weird to say that, but it also feels weird to just say like Kate, or I'm like, do I on one-on-one do I call you Miss Kate?
Well, so I always wanted to know like the history behind like why we went to school in a house, like what was it, whose house was it, what was the story? So I wrote into the Facebook group and I was like, Mr. Rick, can you tell me about the house? Like,
wait, that's so cute. Did he respond?
Yeah, he responded. He told me all about it. But
was it his house?
It was not his house. It was a cardiologist's house. And he
how the tables have turned. You should go back.
I know. And it used to be a farm, I guess, and so they ended up he ended up moving away, I guess. But it used to be his house, and he had his office there. And then I guess when his practice closed and he was like retiring, they bought it and turned it into a school. But yeah, it was like a 3-room schoolhouse, and I'm starting to wonder, like, is that why I'm so into schoolhouses? So anyway.
I don't want to say I didn't know you went to, because maybe I did, maybe you mentioned it, but like I don't remember that fact about you.
I don't think I mean I knew, like, because I'd been in the building, but I never actually called it out loud a schoolhouse before, and then I was like, interesting, maybe that's why I like the 1-room schoolhouse thing, because mine was so sense. Like it was tiny and cozy, and I can still remember like each room very specifically. And I'm also going through a lot of my old family pictures right now, so I've found a bunch of pictures of the schoolhouse. Right. So anyway, that's what led me to looking it up online, finding the Facebook group.
I love that.
The end. Anyway, that was just like something wholesome before you tell us something really awful.
Excellent. Good timing, because now I have something awful to tell you.
Okay.
This is the story of the Costa Concordia sinking.
What the hell is that? I mean, it's a sinking.
I was going to ask if you remembered it. I guess not. That
implies we've talked about it before.
No. Like if you remember it when it occurred in the news, I meant.
No, I don't.
Okay. So it was 2012.
Oh, okay.
We were busy being young and stupid, probably.
Mm-hmm. I was 20.
So yes.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely young and stupid. All right. So before I tell you the story, also, there's something I wanted to mention up top that I completely forgot. So I'm going to throw it in here. That Megan, our wonderful social media person, even though it really irks us to say that with a name like Megan, has actually made show pages, like a page for all our episodes, like an episode guide on the website. Yeah. So like, because when you were mentioning like the episode you did on the night crawlers and all that, Megan like totally revamped it. Like, let me go. If you click into, let's see, how does it work? Oh, I don't think she's even posted it yet. But if you like click in, you can see all the different like show notes and links and stuff in each episode. It's very cool, and it's something I'd always hoped to have and just thought we'll never have time for this. So I'm very, very thankful for that. So if you want more information, you can go on the website and the episodes will now have like all the deets there. So
nice.
That being said, this is the newest one to add to the page, the Costa Concordia. So the Costa Concordia was an 8-year-old Italian cruise vessel sailing under Costa Cruises, which was a subsidiary of Carnival Cruises.
Mm-hmm.
And you know how well things go for these cruise companies in the news.
I have an opinion about Carnival Cruises. Yes, I do
know.
You? Oh, yeah.
Why?
No comment. No comment.
You can't say I have an opinion. No comment. I guess you can. You just did.
Look, as I've gotten older, I am aware that,
I know
cruises
nothing about cruises. Like, I've never been on one. I don't know anything. I'm totally out of the loop.
The older I get, the weirder I feel about them, because I know they're like definitely like they represent a lot of not so good stuff. But at the same time, I'm from a cruise family.
You were a cruise fam. Yeah.
And I, when I think about just selfishly what I enjoy, I do love a cruise.
Yeah.
And we were always told that Carnival was like the party one, and there's some good things to it where, like, if you've never done a cruise before, this is so like uppity, but this is a regurgitation of what I've heard my whole life, and I was always told, don't do a Carnival cruise, you gotta do these. But apparently Carnival cruises are like the party cruise, and since I was always with
like the
20, like, once you can drink, it's the cruise to go on. But I think because a lot of people who go on there are a little younger and make maybe not the best choices sometimes, apparently there's a lot of incidences on the cruises. Like, they catch on fire a lot because people just like
oh, good.
Like, it just sounds like a house party on the water, which to some people is great, but I was always with my cruise family, aka a more she group, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh,
and
they
were not interested in the Carnival cruises, so I was always told to have an opinion about them. But to be fair, I've never actually been on one, so for all I know, I need to like just shut the fuck up.
I have no idea. Like, I don't know how much you know about Beach to Sandy, but it's another podcast I do.
I was gonna say I've heard about it. Yeah,
I've heard of it. And I have this whole running gag where I found this forum called cruisecritic.com. And
my mom runs that, I think.
She might. It's all these cool cruisers. That's what like their usernames. They're called cool cruisers. And it'll be like, Miss Vicky, cool cruiser since 2012, and it'll be like, they have a lingo. And so it'll be like, my DH, my dear husband, that would be Mr. Rick, obviously. DH wanted to do a Carnival cruise, but they always say, eek. And like, my brother hates it because I'll like read a forum and like every 5 minutes I'll just scream eek, and they have like emoticons, but they don't show up on my browser, so they'll just say like colon smiling waving, like colon eek, and there's sometimes people don't get it, and so they'll write like colon sits down at bar and orders a drink. And I'm like, that's not how the emoticons work. But it's like a delightful place because it's so much fun to read their like, it's just chaotic in there. And so my only knowledge of cruises is from that forum, which I learned more than I ever thought I would without having to go on a cruise, for what it's worth. But yeah, there's a lot that goes into I mean, people have like countdowns for like months, years.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's intense.
We're in that group.
It's like a lifestyle.
My grandma was also a big cruiser, and we would just get told, she always knew the day. She'd be like, 108 days left until this cruise. 97 days until this cruise.
Oh my God.
It's like a big thing. And like, so
was
anyway.
it fun though? Like, for you?
To me, they're the best. I love it because I love doing well, first of all, I was also very, very fortunate that I was like the kid that got to like just follow my parents on the luxury cruise lines with every amenity you could possibly imagine.
Sure.
It was very like just deliciously, grossly lavish. And so I just remember having a lot of really good memories as a kid of like, they have so many floors. Like, I mean, especially like we're a Royal Caribbean cruise line family. And so they, or
cool. If I like that it just has the word royal in it. I don't know anything about it, but royal.
Well, Royal Caribbean. Right. So I feel like these days it's kind of I don't know what it is anymore, but I know that like the top one was Norwegian Cruise Lines, and that one I never did one of those. Those were even more lavish, but that was also very like elegant old money. And Royal Caribbean was supposed to be more for like the family experience where they had things for all ages. So they had literally like carousels. They had full ass.
What the fuck?
Like a whole floor looks like a circus. Like they have
what?
They have carousels. There's a whole they have ice skating rinks, they have rollerblading rinks, they have movie theaters, multiple movie theaters. They have like 10 pools. They have they had one bar that wasn't like I forget what the bar was called. It's called like the Sky Deck or something. But it's a bar that's an elevator. So they have this massive elevator and put a bar in it so you can go up and down, and it's glass walls so you can see all the floors of the cruise as you're I mean it's like I don't know, way too she, but as like a 5-year-old, it was like a magical fairyland. It was like I didn't even know things like this existed.
Well, you know,
they have like mini golf on the roof, everything, basketball courts, tennis courts.
It does explain a lot about you, because sometimes you'll no, I'm serious. Like, and I don't mean that in a bad way at all. I just mean sometimes you'll be like so excited about something kind of random, and I'm like, what? And then I'm like, oh, because it'll be like, oh, there's mini golf on the roof, and Em will be like, that's the most amazing thing I've ever heard. And I'm like, okay, this is making a lot of sense now that you had these experiences, and it's like reminiscent of those like family vacations and stuff.
Yeah. It was also like because I loved water stuff, but I hate the beach. And so it was a way to be on the water and
there's
like
go to
water
park.
Literally,
it has chlorine in it, so don't worry.
I'm not kidding. A lot of the Royal Caribbeans on like the top deck now, they have like 2 to 3 water slides, and like, I mean, it's everything you can imagine from every type of theme park or destination or whatever. And then after, like in between every other day, you like dock at a whole new town, so you get off the ship and like explore. And then when the day's over, you're still on this whole ship with a bunch of crap to do. So anyway, I very much liked the cruise life as a kid. I was very lucky to be a cruise kid.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I always had like I was told to have opinions about them as well, and I don't think they were necessarily fair. I just don't know. I don't know much about them. I get why they would be so fun, and I'm sure as a kid I would really want to do one. I've heard a lot of horror stories now, so I'm slightly more skeptical. However, here's my however. What if we did a fun little like cruise, like I don't know, a true crime cruise? No, that sounds bad.
It's a murder.
No, like a paranormal cruise. Well, that already
like
exists.
A Jim Harold's paranormal cruise.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I would do that. I would do something fun if it were like themed or built into like.
I would do Jim Harold's paranormal cruise with you.
I would love to do that. That would be my dream.
We
have not been invited, but I would love to do it.
I do. I know eventually my mom and I have always talked, because my grandma was the big cruise person, and my mom became a big cruise person, and because of that I like cruises. I don't do them now because that means I'd have to pay for them.
Right, sure.
But
which is why I'm saying we should do it for work so that we don't have to pay for that.
Well, so I think so my grandmother, who I think so there's certain like memberships, not memberships, but like a gold medallion, something.
Oh, I know all
whatever.
about those. People post they get trophies and shit. Yeah.
Yeah. So my grandma, I think, was only like 3 away or something from 100 cruises. Something crazy.
Oh shit.
And so once you hit a certain number, you're silver, then you're bronze. But so I don't know what the numbers are, but I know once you hit 100, you're gold. Yeah. I think. And she's still here and she's still with it. So I think we're gonna try to do 3 cruises to get her the 100.
Fuck yes.
And then that might be the end of my cruise life. I know. So that's, fingers crossed, that's like probably the last of my cruise era, but it would be cool to like be with my grandma on her 100th.
I love that. And you know, my dad is actually going on a cruise for the first time. He's in his 70s. He's going on a cruise for the first time this week in his life.
Which cruise line do you know?
He's doing a very fancy one in Alaska. I don't know the details.
Ooh.
All he said was, it's not like a normal cruise. And I said, I don't know what that means, because you've never, and you don't know what that means because neither of us have been on a cruise before.
But if he's on it, it's not going to be a normal cruise.
It's not a normal. That's true. That's true. And so he's like, he's going to Alaska, and then they like do a week on land, and then they do like a week.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know. It sounds crazy. I was like, have fun. I don't know. I don't really understand what's happening, but he's doing his first in his 70s, so it's not too late for me in my 30s, you know?
That's the truth, yeah.
Still get it in there. But I hope this doesn't come off, what's the word? Like glib, because this is obviously a very tragic story I'm about to tell.
Sure.
So
Sorry, I came in hot by saying I had an opinion about Carnival cruises. That was
no.
probably the most elitist thing I'll ever say in my entire life. But anyway, the end.
No. We needed to get it in there because, like, I know cruises are something you and I've always had like such intense, varying opinions on. Just for me with my lack of experience, you with your just massive amounts of experience. So I knew had to get that in there somewhere. So basically, Carnival Cruises owns the Costa Cruise line, and I believe this is like a European subsidiary. And so it's an Italian vessel, this Costa Concordia, and essentially it is one of these massive ships that you describe, Em. I don't know if there's like a fucking carnival on it. Or carnival. What do you call it? What did you say was on one of the floors? Like a circus?
I mean, it's ironic that I won't go on a Carnival cruise, but I will go on the Carnival on a cruise.
You want a carnival on your cruise. You don't want... Yeah. So I don't know like what all was involved in the ship itself, but it was 114,000 tons, and it carried 3,206 passengers. And so this cruise was scheduled to be a 7-day Italian cruise from Civitavecchia, which is a port in Rome, to Savona. And this is January 2012. And I want to say again, I don't know, I just want to be clear here, with all our blabbering about cruises, you know, hard line here, this becomes very, very disturbing and upsetting, and I don't want people to think we're taking this lightly, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So in addition to the passengers, there were 1,023 crew members. So total, 4,252 people aboard. And this is a big-ass ship. The captain of the ship was 52-year-old Captain Francesco Schettino. And he had grown up on the Mediterranean coast and came from a long line of ship owners and seafarers. And according to his sister, Francesco loves the sea. He has always worked as an officer. He has a long career behind him. So he began his career working for a ferry line and was then hired by the parent company, Carnival, to work for Costa Cruises in 2002. And at first, he worked for a while as second in command on a ship, and in 2006, he was promoted and became captain of Costa's brand new cruise ship, the Costa Concordia. On the day of its launch, some superstitious people already felt like there was a little bit of a red flag in the air. And as someone who does not think I'm superstitious, but then has like deeply rooted OCD compulsions and tics, I am probably not one to deny anybody they're superstitious. I feel like it was something people were like, "Ooh, that's not a good sign," but then didn't take it super seriously. If that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
Basically, which we talked about in the Queen Mary. On the Queen Mary tour, when I originally did the history of the Queen Mary, there is a maritime tradition. Do you remember the maritime tradition to like
No.
When a new ship is about to embark on its journey?
I don't remember. What?
You smash a bottle on the hull of the vessel. You smash like a champagne bottle.
Okay.
On the hull. And so this is like an 18th century maritime tradition. They did it on the Queen Mary. And this was part of the tradition. So typically the bottle is smashed and then they announce the ship's name. And this is like welcome to it's like its own debutante.
It's like a ribbon. It's like a ribbon cutting.
Yeah, it's like presenting them to the world, you know what I mean? Like a ribbon cutting.
Can you imagine if you just hit someone in the face with a champagne bottle and went, "This is the name of this person. Welcome. Introducing our special TED Talk host.
Welcome to society. Now, who wants to marry this beautiful belle of the ball?" Okay, so sorry she's covered in glass. So they smash the bottle and announce the name of the ship. And the ritual traditionally is supposed to invoke fair winds and calm seas for future sailings. On smaller ships, they usually smash the bottle against the hull by hand, but on big cruise liners like the Concordia, the bottle is actually tied to a rope and then released like a pendulum.
Damn.
And it's meant to swing down and dramatically explode on the hull.
Love it.
So in 2002, the Concordia's champagne bottle was dropped, hit the hull, and did not shatter.
Oh, so everyone should. Red flag.
Red flag. It actually bounced off. And in the video, you can hear the onlookers kind of make sounds of disappointment, like, aw, it's supposed to dramatically explode. And according to tradition, this was a terrible omen for the ship's career at sea. Just saying. In 2008, the ship suffered serious damage when high winds in an Italian port pushed it into a dock. And there was also an issue in general with the crew. So in 2010, Francesco, the captain, allegedly caused damage to another cruise vessel when he entered a German port going way too fast. And a leaked letter that came out that was sent from his employer to him accused him of damaging the ship. So they kept it hush-hush, but later this letter was leaked, revealing that he had sped into a German port and damaged another ship. Francesco wrote back in this letter, "I did not know the speed limit and have not received notification of an infraction from the relevant authorities." So there's no real conclusion here, but it's also not comforting to read that the captain admitted he didn't even know the speed limit and was just bursting his way through. That's something you can find out, you know?
Okay, yeah.
And especially if you're driving a 71,000 ton ship, maybe check the speed limit instead of saying, well, I didn't know the speed limit. That doesn't get you out of a ticket. So why would it get you out of smashing into another ship?
I can't imagine I can't think of a worse excuse of oh, well, I didn't know how to drive this. What? What?
I didn't check the law. It's that's okay. That doesn't really work, but all right. But I guess it did, because it seems like that kind of got brushed under the rug. So on Friday, January 13th, did you catch that?
On Friday the 13th.
Mm-hmm. You caught that. Nobody seems to mention that, but it was the first thing I saw.
Interesting. No one else cares the way that we care about that?
I'm sure people noticed it. I don't know. I think it's pretty ominous, but
I feel like if this is a story already rooted in superstition, I mean, yeah, well, whatever. Okay.
Maybe it was just not the news. Maybe the news articles were not really, pitching that angle. So Friday the 13th, January 13th, 2012, the Concordia was underway on its 6-day journey. Around 9 p.m., the ship would pass the Tuscan island of Giglio. And many ships pass the island on their routes, usually 2 to 3 miles away from shore. And the Concordia's route that night was meant to take the ship past the island, get this, 6 miles from the shore. However, so the planned route, 6 miles away from shore, right? However, some vessels participate in sort of a sketchy tradition, which you just love to hear it. A sketchy tradition called a sail-by. And on Giglio Island, this practice is known as an incino, or a bow, and it involves lighting up the ship as bright as possible, deviating from the planned route to sail much closer to shore, and honk the horn as a spectacle for all the people on the land.
Oh, God. Okay.
So this is sort of like a wink wink, we just do this, we kind of deviate from the route for a few miles and put on a little show and then go back to the route. Apparently this is something a lot of ships do, and officially it's not a recognized practice, but the mayor of Giglio, this island, said many of them pass close to Giglio to salute the local population with blasts from their sirens. It's a very nice show to see. The ship all lit up when you see it from the land.
And I feel like as a person, I would as a person on shore, I'd be so stoked. It's kind of like when you're on the highway and you used to pull your hand around the trucks and they would honk back and you get so thrilled.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I could see why it would be fun to put on that show for people.
Yes, I totally get it. And adding on to that, the sailbys were also sort of salutes to crew members of different ships who often retired to the island. So they're like living on this island and they see their ship go by or like another ship, and it's sort of like a wink wink at like the people who were in their same field, you know, like retired crews, I don't know, captains or whoever was part of the staff in the past who's retired. Now you can give them like a little like nod of acknowledgement and go on your way. And so, yes, it's nice in theory. However, deviating from the route, which was pretty intentionally created to keep the ship safe, obviously can be hazardous. So, I mean, I probably don't even need to tell you this, but there are rocks, there are shallow water, things that are not meant to be driven over by a 71,000-ton ship. So on January 13th, Francesco finished his dinner and headed to the bridge at a little after 9 p.m. And this is from marineinsight.com because I didn't know what a bridge was. Do you know what a bridge is on a ship?
In my mind, it's like the captain's like where he goes to bed, or like where you like watch the wheel and the speedometer and everything. No.
Oh, Oh, yeah, I think you're probably right. Because I was thinking the brig, and I'm like, that's a different thing.
Oh, like a jail.
Yeah, I'm like, isn't that a dungeon? What's happening?
I think going to the bridge is like the area with all the like equipment.
Okay, I think you're right. So I copied and pasted the definition here from marineinsight.com. The bridge is the main control center of a vessel. You're so smart. From where the captain...
I watch a lot of Below Deck also, so.
Oh, that's right. I was going to say you've been on so many ships, but you've just watched a lot of reality TV. Oh, so Eva probably knew that one right away. She likes that show. I know that.
Well, that's why I also thought it was like the captain's like lounge or where he goes to sleep, because on yachts they're a lot of times the same spot. Connected. So that way the captain's always near the bridge.
Now, what if you knew that about yachts because you've spent so much time on yachts? That would be funny.
It probably would not sound any better than me spending a lot of time on cruises. So.
It would probably be worse. Okay, so let's see. The bridge is the main control center from where the captain and officers are able to man the entire operations of the vessel. Is generally located in a position with an unrestricted view and immediate access to the essential areas of a ship. So, yes, you were right. So, he goes to the bridge around 9 p.m. to initiate this sail-by of Giglio Island. At 9:34 p.m., he told the helmsman, Jacob, to turn the rudder to manual mode. He then phoned up former captain Mario Palomba, who he used to work under when he was second in command. And Mario had basically pioneered, like created this sail-by tradition. So Francesco was like, okay, I'm calling you. You're like the expert on this sail-by thing. What's the safe distance from shore? Mario tells Francesco, you'll be all good if you're 0.3 to 0.4 miles off the island. That's 1,500 feet. They're supposed to be 6 miles off the shore.
Yeah, they're really, really flirting with trouble.
0.3. Like, that is a dramatic distance off route, in my opinion. So Mario's like, oh, yeah, you're totally fine if you're like 1,500 feet away from the shore. So Francesco sets the radar for 0.5 miles from the shore. But then he started using his binoculars to estimate the distance manually.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the conditions at this point were not ideal either. The wind was really rough, so the water was choppy, and that obviously makes it very difficult to see hazards like rocks, that kind of thing. It was also partially cloudy and nighttime, so like just not the ideal time to kind of go off a route for funsies.
Yeah.
So Francesco once said in an interview, quote, I wouldn't like to be in the role of captain on the Titanic, having to sail in an ocean of icebergs. These days, everything is much safer. It is easier to navigate thanks to modern technical instruments and the internet. So what he does is he turns everything off and decides to estimate it with his binoculars.
Okay.
So basically he just said, I don't know if you caught the irony there. He basically said, driving a ship, I don't know if you drive a ship. Do you drive a ship?
I mean, there's a wheel.
That's true. You captain a ship. He said, I would not want to be the captain of the Titanic. Everything's manual. You don't know if there are any hazards, but at least now we have technology. And now he's turning off all the technology to do it manually. Just to clarify. So he's relying on his senses, very dangerous, over technical instruments to navigate a dangerous maneuver. Ironically, fun fact, the date was only a few months away from the 100-year anniversary of the Titanic sinking.
Oh, okay. Well,
Cool.
that's also a really sad fun fact.
Yeah, terrible. So, in an interview, former Captain Mario said that Francesco was always a daredevil who frequently had to be put back in his place. And that was his former boss. So, that's not a
Mhm.
good sign. Now, obviously, when sailing, people use the term knots to denote speed.
Sure.
Um, we're going to use miles per hour just
Thank you.
so we are not constantly trying to convert them. At 9:40, Francesco told Jacob, the helmsman, to increase the ship's speed from 3.5 miles per hour to 18 miles per hour and to turn toward 310 degrees. Now, at this point, the ship was still following the route on the radar, passing about half a mile away, but Francesco ordered the helmsman to deviate from that course to follow his own, like, manual eyeballing. He's like, just go that
Mm.
way, like, by sight. And this is where some controversy starts with Jacob, the helmsman. Okay, because ships have what is called a work language. I did not know this. And that is the official language of that ship that crew members are all expected to speak and understand, at least somewhat fluently, to make sure everybody can communicate. It's for safety reasons.
Jeez.
Do
Okay.
you know
I
what I
would
mean?
think all ships would have the same language.
Well, no. Like, I'm talking like English, Italian,
Oh. I thought you were saying there's
French.
like a work jargon that every individual ship
Oh, no. I'm
has.
sorry. I mean, like, each ship has to have an official language that
Got it.
everybody needs to
Got it.
speak to be able to, like, effectively
Makes
communicate with
much
the
more sense.
entire. Yeah, because it's like over 1,000 people on the staff, and they were all expected to know the same language. And on this ship, the language was Italian. Makes sense. It's an Italian
Mhm.
ship. Most of the crew is Italian. And so this common language was meant to be used in emergencies so they could understand orders, so that they could direct passengers. Everybody could be on the same page. And like I said, the Concordia's work language was Italian. So
Mhm.
everyone on the bridge, especially the helmsman, should be fluent in Italian. But because English has become, pretty ubiquitous, there are sometimes this assumption that everybody should speak it or does speak it, even when their first language is not English. But there was no reason that Jacob, the helmsman, should have been expected to speak English when the work language was Italian. However, Francesco claims that helmsman Jacob barely spoke English or Italian, which caused miscommunications in the bridge. However, recordings from the bridge seem to contradict that claim. Basically,
Okay.
uh, Jacob was not fluent in English, and Francesco's kind of using that as an excuse, even
Okay.
though he was supposed to be speaking Italian because that was the language of the ship. So, the ship's black box recorded Francesco giving commands at critical moments exclusively in English, which was not the language Jacob was expected to know. At 9:40 p.m., he ordered Jacob in English to direct the ship to 325 degrees. Jacob repeated 315, and the first deck officer, who also apparently struggled with English, corrected him with yet another incorrect number, saying, no, 335.
Oh, okay.
So these are already three different numbers being bandied about here. Francesco then repeated 325, and Jacob finally understood and said, okay, 325. Minutes later, Francesco gave another bearing in English, saying 350. Jacob repeated 340,
Oh my god.
and Francesco told him, no, 350. He said, otherwise, we'll end up on the rocks. Soon, the boat was half a mile closer to the island than initially planned.
Oh god.
So Francesco looked ahead, realized there was a problem. There were waves breaking against rocks straight ahead, and they were basically on collision course with disaster.
Mm.
He started giving orders to Jacob to turn the ship to 350 degrees. But there was another major issue because now they were going 18 miles per hour, which is way too fast to turn efficiently. So Jacob directed the boat to the correct bearing, but they were still only turning 327 degrees, which is still under what they needed to avoid the rocks. Oh, God. What was that?
She found it on the web.
Who was that?
Girl, that was Siri. What are you talking about?
Was that your Siri?
No, that was your Siri.
It was not mine.
Wasn't mine.
That is so weird.
We both heard her, right?
Yeah, but it came from like over here.
No, but it came from over here.
What the fuck?
That's weird.
So they start to turn, but they're going so fast that they're not going to make the turn in time, if that makes sense.
Right. They're still going under the amount that they need to get away from the collision track.
Exactly. You got it. You're so smart. You know, obviously way more about boats than I do, even though I had took sailing lessons for years. That's my douchey thing to say. I took sailing lessons for years. I fucking hated it because it was always summer vacation and it was like 6:30 in the morning and my stepmom would make us go out 6:30 in the morning to sail. I'm like, I'd rather do literally anything else.
Why? Well, whatever. I probably saw you on a cruise ship and waved.
And honked your horn. And then our test at the end was that we had to take our parents on a sailboat by ourselves. I was like 9.
That is illegal. That has to be illegal. And and for your final test, we're going to watch you kill everybody.
The guy literally sat on the shore. I was like, this can't be right. I'm 9.
That can't be right. That can't be right.
Like,
put everyone you love on a boat and sink it. Oh my God.
The only thing I remember is starboard and
starboard.
That's what I said. And and port.
Yeah, left and right.
Yeah. Which one's left?
Port.
Yes. That's all I know. So anyway.
Okay.
Okay, so let's get back to this. So he's saying, steer further and further to the right, starboard. Are you sure it's not starboard?
Starboard.
It's starboard.
I don't know anymore.
Whatever. Okay. It's it's starboard. It's to the right. And so he's saying
it's not port.
It's not port. I wish it were.
Not port side. Not port side.
I could say that very easily. So he keeps instructing him to steer further and further. And as they passed the rock, the captain ordered Jacob to center the rudder and then port 20, which is 10 degrees to the left. But Jacob mistakenly turned right instead of left for about 8 whole seconds. And to me, 8 seconds is a long time to be turning in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Right?
That's if you're trying to
avoid, yes, if you're trying to avoid a rock. Oh my gosh. So 8 seconds in the wrong direction. So he turned hard left because he realized he was going in the wrong direction to correct the error, but it was too late. The second deck officer shouted that the ship was going to hit, and then there was a loud crash as the rear left side of the ship collided with the rocks, tearing open a 174-foot-long hole in the hull of the ship.
Oh my God.
Immediately, thousands of tons of water began flooding the ship. Upon impact, the ship's speed reduced to 9.5 miles per hour and lost propulsion of both engines, and the Concordia was now officially adrift. Only 22 seconds after impact, all engines were flooded and had all failed, and there was a ship-wide blackout. Keep in mind, it's nighttime. It's like after 9 p.m.
Oh my God.
It's like 9:30, 10 p.m., something around there. Francesco ordered the closing of all watertight doors. Crew ran to the lower decks to assess the damage and found that in only 6 minutes, water had entered the workshop and the engine room, affecting the main electric switchboard and the emergency switchboard. So the crew stood in oncoming water and used a screwdriver to manually reboot the emergency power system, but damage to the cooling fan made the safety system continually override their attempts because a high temperature warning kept shutting it down. So they would try to manually start it, and then the emergency device would say high temperature and shut it back down. So they could not access the emergency protocol, emergency power system. So the ship, like I said, had a Shipwide blackout. They lost all power, meaning lights, rudders, even the bilge pumps, which are meant to push water out in case of flooding. All of them were shut off. So this thing is just now floating and taking on water.
Yeah, and also no one else can see them. So like someone else could hit them.
True, and now it's dark, right? True. No lights. So at 9:54 p.m., the bridge made a ship-wide announcement that there was simply an electrical issue and they were addressing it.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So this is where this becomes more of a true crime story, unfortunately. Although Francesco should have already been initiating emergency protocol, he instead assured everyone on the ship that everything was under control and they could just go about their business.
But they know there's like a massive hole in the hull and the boat is sinking.
I don't know if they know that. No.
Okay.
Because, again, it's one of these massive ships where like 170 feet is big, but maybe not.
Or not compared to the rest of the ship.
Right. Maybe not big enough that you would, if you were in your room playing cards, you maybe not know that what that noise was and then the power went out. And maybe you just think, oh, they just had like a system failure. You know, then they announce, oh, it's just an electrical issue. And you trust the captain of the ship, right? Like, it's an abuse of power, really. So internal emergency batteries within the ship shortly were able to at least return power to the lights and communication, although everything else was utterly functionless. So they had no way of, pumping out the water, nothing like that. So those like M who have been on cruises will know, which I did not, that on the first day on board the cruise, everyone has to go to, and tell me if this is true, everyone has to go to their designated meeting spot and listen to the crew discuss emergency protocol.
Yep.
Is that right? And it's sort of like the talk that flight attendants give, like if anything were to happen, oxygen mask, blah, blah, blah. Like that sort of a emergency protocol conversation. That way, in the event of an emergency, everyone knows where to go. Having felt the crash, like you mentioned, many passengers were already kind of leaving their cabins and putting on life jackets and going to the designated emergency spots, thinking, well, we've been told what to do in case of an emergency, so let's follow that instruction. But when they arrived to their emergency spots, they were told to return to their cabins because nothing was wrong.
Oh my God.
Yeah. The deputy chief officer contacted the bridge to inform the captain that at least 3 of the ship compartments were flooded and the ship began to list to its left side. And for those who don't know, that just means to shift, like to lean to the left side. Francesco called the Costa Company's crisis coordinator and reported the incident and said that water had reached the main electrical panel. Costa headquarters misunderstood which compartments were flooded, didn't realize there was a blackout, and suggested they just use their propellers to steer the ship to safety. Now, people ashore who were expecting this big, like, light show and, like, honking, could tell that the Concordia was in trouble. I mean, now it's literally, like, leaning sideways.
Oh my God.
The Civitavecchia, I hope I'm saying that right, harbor master contacted the ship to assess its situation. Francesco told the harbor master that they were addressing a simple blackout and everything was under control.
Oh, like, that's the worst of it.
He's blatantly
that was when he could have
lying.
Asked for help.
He's like, they said, do you need assistance? Do you need rescue? He said, oh, it's just he didn't even tell them we drove into a giant rock.
That's the moment.
That's a crime.
Because
that's a true crime.
That's when you should have said, I need help. Thank you for seeing there. And like, this isn't the Titanic when you're in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
Like people can help you.
That's what makes it so dark too, is they were so close to shore.
Like, and people are watching these people now on their way to death.
Yeah, it's horrifying. Exactly. I mean, you've really just nailed it. That's exactly what's happening, which makes it so much more dark because they could have been saved,
Like, at what point does like someone on shore just be like, fuck what this guy's saying, we need to go out there and check on them?
I don't know. Like,
I don't even know if you're allowed to.
Like, how would you?
Yeah.
The ship is so massive. Like, I don't know how you. Maybe if you send like your own boats out to get people, but there's only so much.
Well, like they could have called like the Coast Guard or something to come in and help. Like anything.
They might have. I'm not really sure. But I mean, it sounds like their version of the Coast Guard called out and said, what's going on? And he just blatantly lied, said it's just an electrical problem. So, in fact, the first deck officer and deputy chief engineer had just determined that 4 of the ship's compartments were now flooded. And at this point, there is no saving the ship. They were like, this ship is going down. We cannot save it. Minutes later, Francesco contacted the fleet crisis coordinator to tell them, let me guess, to tell them that the ship is going down? No. He told them, actually, it's all good. It's just a blackout. Don't worry.
Oh my God.
And I'm just thinking he's trying to save face, I'm assuming. And like
he's just embarrassed and his
pride,
ego is
his pride got ahead of him. Yes, it's tragic. But passengers on board started contacting family members to tell them something didn't seem right. The ship was listing to its side more and more. Passengers' families then called the police, who contacted the Coast Guard. Good call, Em. There was back and forth again with Francesco, his crew, and Costa headquarters, but still nobody at Costa, or I almost said Costco. Nobody at...
I was going to say, no one at Costco what?
Kirkland! No. Nobody at Costa or in the bridge had declared any actual emergency, prepared passengers to disembark the vessel. Even the ones who, by the way, were prepared to disembark and put their life jackets on were told to go back to their rooms. They even told the harbor master that they were not in an emergency and nothing was going on. Just don't worry about it. But the harbor master was suspicious, obviously, so he sent out a boat to assess the state of the Concordia. And at nearly 10:30 p.m., Francesco finally contacted the Coast Guard, but requested only tugboats to tow the ship. He lied and told them that the flooding was confined to compartments that protected the ship from sinking and everything was under control. He also said there were no deaths or injuries, which was a lie because he had no way of knowing that. He was just
He was just guessing.
Yeah, it was just guessing.
It's like, well, the boat isn't totally underwater, so everyone's probably okay,
fine.
Currently.
Yeah, he was hoping everyone was fine. Many have speculated that at this point, Francesco was in absolute denial about the situation, refused to believe things were as dire as they really were. However, others believe he knew the gravity of the situation, but was trying to lie to protect his reputation, to, like we said, his ego, his pride got in the way. Especially because he was the one who had instructed them to go close to shore. You know what I mean? Like, this was his idea, and I think he's trying to backtrack. So, indeed, minutes after he told the harbor master that everything was under control, he called Costa headquarters and told them the real situation. But Costa didn't contact emergency services either. Now, the ship is beginning to list to the right, and water starts moving upward through the ship. And by now, this gives me actual chills. The kitchen and elevators were underwater.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Is this not terrifying? I mean...
Oh my God.
Oof. So, by this point, as you can imagine, it is total chaos aboard the ship. Passengers are now very aware that the ship is sinking. But staff keeps telling them everything's under control and even asks them to return to their cabins.
What the fuck? Is someone not like, I can't get to my room because the elevators have water in them? My room's underwater. What do you mean nothing's broken?
Hello, nothing's wrong? You want me to go swim into my room? It doesn't make any sense. So the passengers were like, fuck you, fuck this. We've had enough. And they started loading.
Jumping?
They started loading each other into lifeboats themselves because they were like, the staff is not, the crew is not putting people on lifeboats. We're going to put ourselves on lifeboats.
And one fucking person on that ship was like, I've seen the Titanic.
Yeah. Like, bye. Bye. We're getting on a boat. So they started to load each other onto lifeboats themselves. And wildly, local television stations were broadcasting the scene live from shore, and they're showing a sinking ship, and they're showing passengers like putting each other on the lifeboats.
Oh my God. First of all, a round of applause to like the humanity in those people.
Seriously. Yeah, you're gonna round of applause for somebody in a minute too, which is, we'll get there. The chief engineer told Francesco it was time to give the order to abandon ship, but he didn't.
Oh my God.
Meanwhile, the engine crew working in the lower decks contacted the bridge for permission to abandon their stations, which were flooding and they were going to die. And Francesco told them, no, stay at your station.
I'd be like, fuck you, I'm leaving anyway.
Seriously. Finally, a safety officer actually took over, like a mutiny almost, and told the engine staff to evacuate. If they had actually waited for Francesco's permission, they would have drowned. No doubt. They would have drowned.
Oh my God.
So despite Francesco's command to wait, other crew members began to take charge, and it became technically a mutiny. They basically, he's the captain. The rest of the crew said, we are no longer listening to the captain's orders. We're mutinying, and we are taking over.
Good. Oh my God. Wow. Yeah. Good.
If ever a mutiny was in order, I would say
I'm for it. Yeah, this
Absolutely. Is it. So at 10:33, the general emergency alarm was finally raised, and another announcement informed passengers that the situation was under control. And so it's almost like they're fighting back and forth. Like, he's like, no, everything's fine. And they're like, nope, there's an emergency. Finally, minutes later, the passengers were told to go to their emergency stations. This is nearly a full hour after impact.
Oh my God.
If they had just evacuated at impact, probably everyone would have survived.
Oh my God. He should be so lucky that people are defying him, or else he would be in jail for a lot of death.
A lot. So the ship then sent a distress signal finally to the Coast Guard, who prepared to send rescue units to assist the evacuation of the ship. The captain told the Coast Guard he was trying to maneuver the ship towards shore to aid evacuation, which was a lie because there was no power to the engine or rudder, so he couldn't navigate the ship anywhere. So he was just lying. At 10:50 p.m., more than an hour after impact, Francesco finally decided to give the abandoned ship announcement. But he was afraid it would sound too intense, so he rephrased it.
Oh my God.
And the new announcement was, let passengers on shore.
Okay.
So just no sense of urgency whatsoever.
If they feel like it, like no pressure.
If they feel like it, like let them off if they want. Taking control, mutiny, his second in command got on the intercom and shouted, abandon ship.
Good.
Imagine hearing that. They're like, let passengers off board. And then another voice grabs the mic and says, abandon ship. That must be so scary.
I've also, I want to know, is anyone in the room with the captain at this point? Like, are they looking him in the eyes being like, are you this fucking stupid?
Yes, they are. And they're saying, like, no. We are giving this command. And he's like, I'm the captain, and they're like, we don't care. People are going to die. Like,
in my mind, he kept being in a room by himself at least. So nobody else had to deal with this bullshit. But him being in at one point it was maybe in the beginning, okay, well, he doesn't know how bad the damage is on the ship. And now it's like he's fully blatantly lying because of his pride. But that makes me rethink, how early on did he know there was a problem and he was in denial? Because, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, but I feel like wherever I was giving him the benefit of the doubt, he probably knew before that.
But he's the captain. He's the one who gets all the information. Nobody's, forgetting to tell him. You know what I mean? They told him right away, hey, our emergency system is down and we can't turn it on. Hey, there's a ship-wide blackout and there's tons of water coming onto the ship.
When his second in command went abandon ship, he had the nerve to look that guy in the eyes and be like, how dare you say it like that?
I'm captain.
Yeah. Did you not hear me already tell them that? We thought you could do it better. He had some sort of nasty snide remark.
Some sort of. And the wild part was they announced abandoned ship, but they gave the command in English. And again, this is an Italian vessel. The language is meant to be Italian. You can't just expect the thousands of people on board to know what abandoned ship means if they're prepared for an Italian phrase that means abandoned ship. Mm-hmm. So it's just all a big clusterfuck. And the ship began to drop lifeboats to transport passengers to shore. Luckily, due to the very cause of the sinking, the shore was only a couple 100 feet away. So at the very least, the ones that were able to get onto the lifeboats could make it to shore pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, they'd waited far too long for a rescue mission, and the ship began to list so dramatically to one side that lifeboat evacuation became nearly impossible.
Oh my God.
The boats that had already dropped started making trips back and forth, unloading passengers on shore and then picking more up from the ship. And to get onto the lifeboats, passengers had to climb down the side of the ship on a ladder, but the ship was nearly completely sideways with half of it underwater. This is so upsetting. Other passengers started jumping off the ship into the dark seawater, where some were rescued by Coast Guards, but others were pulled underwater by the suction created by the sinking ship and drowned.
Yeah.
Like, it probably looked like a good option because you're not far from shore, and you can probably think, hey, I'm a good swimmer. I don't want to take a spot on this lifeboat. But if you jump in and there's that riptide basically pulling, that current pulling you under, you know, what are you going to do? I mean, it's horrific. And this is when earlier today, Em heard me just gasp when I was looking up photos. I'm going to send you a photo of what this...
Someone jumping?
No. It's just like what the ship looked like. And we can also put these on Instagram. It's just like a shocking sight.
Oh, Jesus.
It's like fucking sideways.
I cannot believe. So was the captain like hanging sideways, right? And like making decisions that the boat saying, was fine?
It's just an electrical issue. It's like
like an electrical issue. You're fucking 180 degrees. What are you talking about?
I mean,
oh my God. Yeah, the lifeboats, you can see other lifeboats they can't even use hanging off the side because they waited too long.
It's too long. It's too late.
Wow.
There's some really upsetting photos, like, you know, if you want to Google it, but there are also photos inside the wreck. I'll send you one of those, which are like really unsettling. I mean, it makes you think of the Titanic, you know, like the sight of like how fun and cool it was now turned into like such an eerie wreckage.
Yeah.
Like here's oh my Lord.
Oh my God.
Here's a picture of like slot machines, you know, and they're just it's so dark.
It's just infuriating that someone just like didn't have like
for their own to save face. Really? Was it worth it, you know?
Like you don't even have the morality to just fucking say I need help.
Just exactly.
Wow. Oh my God.
You know, people trust you. You're the captain of the ship. They trust you with their lives. It's incredibly dark. So anyway, like I said, the ship is really going down now. People are trying to climb out of the ship, jumping out of the ship, but they're getting pulled underwater, drowning, you know, from the suction. At 11:30, the crew abandoned the bridge, giving no more announcements or orders. There are still 300 people aboard the ship, and they just were like, bye. The island's deputy mayor arrived and actually took a lifeboat. This is the mayor. Took a lifeboat back to the ship and climbed aboard the ship himself after the crew had abandoned the ship.
Now that's a man of the people. That's a hero. Wow.
He took a boat. He's like, fuck this. He took a boat, climbed aboard the ship as it's like dramatically sinking. And like, guys, look at the photos. We'll put them on Instagram. He searched the ship for someone in charge because he was like, we need to go over the evacuation plan. Guess what? Everyone had already pieced out. The whole crew was gone. So he found nobody. However, there were still 80 people aboard the ship. Francesco, though, was nowhere to be found. He had, get this, changed out of his captain's uniform and put on a suit.
Why, to go down with the ship or something?
No, to get on a lifeboat and not look like the captain of the ship.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So he wasn't in that much denial. He knew what was going on.
He was ready to do a costume change.
Wow, he was literally about to disguise himself. And by the way, for all of his I'm the captain, you're abandoning your post while letting other people die on the ship? Crazy.
Like beyond. Yes. Basically put on a suit, jumped in a lifeboat with other passengers, just kind of sailed away while there were still people aboard the ship needing
So he'd
rescue.
already snuck off?
Yeah, he had snuck off. Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes. Basically went to save himself as the ship continued to sink behind him with people aboard and didn't even have the gall to the cojones, I don't know the right word, to own up to being the captain that he was so proud of a minute ago.
Right.
So the deputy mayor gave up his search and gave up his search of the crew because he wasn't going to find them. They were gone. He started directing people to safety with the assistance of a single officer and a ship's doctor, the only two people who stayed behind.
Wow.
One officer, one doctor. Both of them helped rescue efforts until the very end. The Coast Guard called Francesco and asked him why he abandoned the ship with passengers still aboard. The Coast Guard's like, hey, fuck you. Why did you leave? And he claimed, this is a real thing that he said, Em. He claimed he had fallen into a lifeboat by accident.
Oh my God. I'm sorry. It's not funny. It's not funny, to be clear.
It's just like the most outrageous thing I've ever heard.
What?
It's absurdity at its finest.
That's like when people who cheat on someone, they're like, oh, I accidentally slept with them. What?
Like, I
Tell me how.
fell into them. It's like, that's not, no, that's how none of this works. I fell into a lifeboat and I accidentally fell into my my regular citizen uniform.
I fell out of the bridge into my tuxedo and then all the way onto the other side of the ship into a lifeboat and onto shore. Whoops,
before I knew
I rode
happened.
like a can of Chef Boyardee all the way home.
All the way home without any understanding of what was happening. He said he fell into a lifeboat by accident. And the Coast Guard, this is...
Don't tell me they believed it.
Paraphrased for English translation, told Francesco, get the fuck back on the ship.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. This line became so famous in Italy that people started selling t-shirts that wore the phrase, get the fuck back on board.
That's great.
This t-shirt went viral. Get the fuck back on board. However, shocker, Francesco refused to get back on board. He instead took a taxi back to his hotel.
Oh my God.
And he was interviewed on the way there, and he told the news he was the last one to leave the ship.
Oh, what a piece of shit.
What a piece of shit. But everyone...
And he still doesn't think he did anything wrong, probably.
Yeah, he's probably talked his way into, like, I did the right thing. But everyone could plainly see that people were still being rescued and still dying. And this guy's, like, outside his hotel in a suit saying, oh, yeah, I was the last one aboard. Like, blatant lie.
And they had to interview him and be like, why aren't you in your captain's outfit?
Yeah.
And he had to be like, oh, I fell into my suit.
I fell into this pants. I don't even know where they came from. I swear, it's shocking. Now, the rescue operations were declared complete at 6:17 a.m. So, like, the crew abandoned the ship at 11:30 p.m.
Oh, my God.
And now it's 6:17 a.m. the following morning. And they're finally declaring rescue operations complete. Now, the ship came to rest halfway underwater, lying on its side against submerged rocks. 24 hours later, while banging on cabin doors in the part of the ship that was not submerged, that was still up, like, above water, rescuers found, get this, a 29-year-old couple on their honeymoon.
Oh.
Who had slept through the whole thing.
Ah, I fucking love them. Good for them.
That's you.
That sure would be. I certainly hope so.
That's you, for sure, being able to sleep through something like that.
Which, like, where your bed flops onto another wall. Like,
yeah, you're literally sideways now, and you're like, huh, what happened?
I wonder if they just got, like, really just, like, piss drunk the night before, and
Maybe.
they were just, like, so, like unconscious,
deep
like they
sleep.
Having the best sleep of their life.
Yeah, they apparently woke up, which must be absolutely traumatizing, woke up in this, like, ruined ship, but they couldn't get out of their room. Like, they were trapped.
Well, yeah, because the door is facing the floor now,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. So they don't even know what happened. They can't get off the ship. They're just stuck in their room. So when they were finally rescued, they were apparently cold and wet, but uninjured and in good spirits. So that's nice.
Thank God. Oh my God. I mean, hey, talk about not trying to like totally make fun of this, but like think about the 2 truths and a lie you get for the rest of your life on
for
that
real.
one.
Like my honeymoon was a little more dramatic than most people's. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay, at least they're unharmed, but that still had to be. I can't even imagine when you wake up and like your whole room is upside down and you're like on the ceiling now. You have to think you survived a shipwreck. Like,
yeah, you're on a ship. Like what has happened. There's
and
water
it's silent
in your
because there's no one else.
They're silent. There's water in your room. Like they were all wet. I mean, it must be terrifying. And I mean, of course, it's a silver lining, but unfortunately, there would be no more happy endings for the remaining missing passengers as divers searched the submerged cabins. Ultimately, 32 people lost their lives in the disaster. Several people were discovered underwater on the lifeboat decks where they had been waiting for crew instructions that never came.
Oh my God.
Because the crew said, "Don't worry, we've got it handled," and they trusted them.
So how many people in total passed
32 people lost their lives.
And is that go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no.
I was going to say, do you know, I don't know if you know this, but does that include everyone, including the people that went missing with the suction under the water?
Yes.
Like, okay.
Yes.
My God.
So others that they found were waiting on one deck and were told to walk back through the sinking ship to another deck to access the remaining lifeboats. But while trying to navigate the treacherous halls, they were sucked into flooded elevator shafts by moving water and were drowned.
Oh my God. Oh my God. That's awful.
One waiter who worked aboard the ship drowned while helping passengers escape. And yet another man died after giving up his spot on a lifeboat to someone else.
Oh my God.
It's horrible. In the wake of this tragedy, survivors had other problems to face because many of the crew came from disadvantaged circumstances and their families back home relied on these earnings they were making. And cruise staff are often underpaid, work long hours, and remain on ships for weeks or months at a time. One crew member said they were all paid in cash, and with no way to deposit the cash when they were on sea, they would keep the cash in their lockers until they went home. So they lost 6 months of savings in the sinking, and that was meant to feed their family back home.
Oh my gosh.
So following the sinking, Giglio locals were commended for their assistance in the rescue efforts. There were almost 4 times as many people aboard the ship as there were residents of the island. So it required monumental community effort to support the survivors after the rescue, like to bring them in, get them food, shelter, water, like heat. And so they were definitely commended for that. Although Francesco, of course, maintained his innocence and insisted he simply fell into a lifeboat, he became, of course, a social pariah and was blamed for the entire incident.
Duh.
Yeah. Costa and its parent company, Carnival, were happy to use him as a scapegoat, despite their own failures during the incident. It also turned out there was no protocol which required the captain to have route changes approved. So technically, Francesco hadn't even violated any rules when he diverted toward the island. So, like,
wild.
He wasn't even breaking the rules at that point. Still, he and several officers had carelessly endangered thousands of lives and then failed to react at all according to emergency standards. And the reality, which is the sad part of this, the extra sad part, is that the crew had plenty of time to get everybody safely off the ship.
Everyone could have survived.
Everyone could have survived, especially considering how close they were to shore. Not a single person needed to die, but the captain's failure to act, the lack of organization, failed everyone on board. And even the people who did survive, like, think about if you have kids with you, like, how traumatizing, especially, like, you don't know if you're going to survive. I mean, this is like a life-threatening, like, terrorizing experience. So it's also been suggested that the presence of a non-paying passenger named Dominika Semortan played a role in the captain's response or lack thereof. This woman was a dancer that Francesco brought aboard because they were having an affair. Okay. She was on the bridge during the sinking and was later caught on camera telling passengers to stop recording the incident because they weren't allowed to.
What? Okay.
In July 2013, so basically they're saying he had this woman on board, they were having an affair, and maybe he didn't want it to leak that that he brought this woman on board without, he brought basically his mistress
he didn't
want
to get caught.
He didn't want to get caught, exactly. In July 2013, 5 people were found guilty of manslaughter, negligence, and wrecking. Roberto Ferrarini, the Costa Crisis Director, received a 2-year, 10-month sentence. Several officers were also sentenced to serve prison time, as well as Jacob, the helmsman. But Jacob fled Italy to Indonesia to escape prison time. Francesco insisted that Jacob's error was the cause for the crash, which, I would argue that's one small piece of a much bigger issue.
Yeah.
And once again, he blamed his lack of language skills, but he was giving commands in English, and the ship's language was Italian, so that's a bullshit excuse. But a naval admiral testified that no matter how Jacob steered, once the ship was on the course that it was on, the one that the captain himself had set, it was doomed to crash, no matter what they did. So basically, his initial directive was the cause of the crash. Now, get this. This was the worst cruise disaster since the 1912 sinking of the Titanic. And that was almost exactly 100 years earlier.
Oh my God.
And he had even said in that interview, I would hate to captain a ship like the Titanic where there's no technology to help avoid disaster.
Right.
It's just wild to me.
The irony.
It is so ironic. So Francesco was found guilty and ultimately sentenced to 16 years in prison, which he is still serving in Rome.
Good.
And that is the story of the Costa Concordia.
Wow. Certainly a wild story. Very, I don't know what to say. Just sad.
It's sad, and it's horrible because you really trust someone like a captain of a ship. I mean, what else can you do as a passenger? You trust the person in charge who's supposed to have your safety at top priority.
It's also, it could be really an easy transition into talks about conforming to authority and things like that. And I mean, just because someone's wearing a white coat doesn't know that I'm not trying to poo-poo all doctors, but there is a significant amount of people who will just blindly follow whatever someone in authority has to say to you. And there have been a few times where even with my veins right now, it's I know a doctor's telling me that things are wrong, but I'm going to get a second opinion because just because they're a doctor, how do I know that they actually paid attention that day in vein school?
Yes, totally. And it's dangerous here to think on a ship, you don't really have a second opinion, and if a ship is sinking and you don't know what to do because you're a layperson, you look to the captain. Who else are you going to look to? You don't even have a choice.
Yeah, you don't have, there's no plan B. Either you listen to the captain or maybe you do or you don't, and either you survive or you don't. So
yes, and even if you take it upon yourself, you follow the people jumping off the ship and then get sucked under and die.
And you don't know about water suction and riptides and things like that.
So it's you were supposed to be guided to safety and you were left to your own devices. It's very, 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 very tragic.
Just like how this could be an example on following authority. Which, by the way, I was not trying to victim blame there. It's just an interesting example.
I understand because it's that's when it becomes dangerous. This people in authority. That's when it can become so dangerous.
It's also, I mean, I don't think it would surprise anyone here that listens to us, but it would also be a really interesting example to, the male fragility of pride and oh, you're a captain and you messed up and you're afraid to admit it. And how far are you willing to go before you ask for help? And apparently 32 deaths is still not the answer. So
isn't that horrible? It's not one person needed to die. Well,
man, what a disappointment.
I know. Well,
it was fun to start in good spirits with you, Christine.
I know. It always is, isn't it? Well, I will tell you this.
What?
I have some fun little quiz, a a true crime related personality quiz for you for our after chat. Or
Oh,
for our, what are we calling it? I meant to write in. We polled Patreon. We got some great names. You and I like the same ones, I remember, on Slack.
Oh, good.
But I'm trying to remember. Here we go.
Closing time. After hours.
I think last call is good too.
Last call, the hangover or something. I like last call or after hours.
I like last call, or because closing time just makes me think of that song and it'll get stuck in everyone's head.
I think maybe after hours because it's an homage to our after chats.
Okay, after hours. Yes,
I love
it.
Last. Oh, okay, great, cool.
I was just picturing it in my mind's eye, and that's why we drink after hours.
Yeah,
I love it.
Oh,
we
great!
Could do a little neon sign. After hours. Yeah. Okay, I love it. After hours. I'm writing in here on Slack. After hours it is, even though nobody knows we're like even talking about it. Okay.
Well, if you're on Patreon and you've been following our after chats, apparently now we are turning it into after hours, and probably because our after chats turn into multiple hours. But if you'd like to go listen to this week's after chat, you can do that.
I will be giving Em a personality quiz about true crime.
Excellent. And then I guess next week it'll be my turn to prompt you with something.
I can't wait.
Okay. And
that's
why
we
drink.